Part 31. A Middle School Cartoonist. Author, Mao Do Sde Mao. Chapter 301. According to the needs of monthly serialization, Yoshida usually chooses to come to Takahashi Makoto's house in the middle of the month to collect the comic manuscript. However, this time he came a few days in advance, because this time Yoshida not only wanted to collect the comic manuscript of Clannad, but also had to negotiate with Takahashi Makoto about the new comic serialized in the weekly Shonen Jump, that is, Dream Eater. However, after Yoshida came to Takahashi Makoto's house, he found that except for Takahashi Makoto, all the assistants were there. What Yoshida found most difficult to understand was that the eyes of the people on the assistant side looked at Yoshida, and there was an inexplicable weird light flashing from time to time. If it was Takahashi Makoto who showed this weird look, Yoshida said that he would not take it to heart at all. After all, he has cooperated with a certain second-year cartoonist for many years, and he has become completely accustomed to and immune to the other party's endless weird ideas. But today, the look of the assistant side looking at him, especially the two cute girls on the assistant side, Aoi Ueno and Mayuri, made Yoshida instinctively feel a chill. If Yoshida's so-called intuition is correct, the way the two girls on the assistant side looked at him was exactly the way they looked at a gentleman. When Yoshida tried to get close to Ueno Aoi and Mayuri, Ueno Aoi directly pulled Mayuri to the side and stared at Yoshida with a vigilant look, as if to warn him that if you get closer to us, I will call the police. What made Yoshida even more depressed was that the two men on the assistant side patted Yoshida's shoulders with sympathy, shook their heads and sighed in silence. Faced with the strange reactions of the people on the assistant side, Yoshida frowned and began to recall whether he had done something that would anger the heavens and the people recently. After thinking hard and to no avail, Yoshida looked up at the assistants who were behaving strangely, and the corners of his mouth began to twitch. What's going on? My cat, you're here. Takahashi Makoto came out of the kitchen, looked at Yoshida who was confused, greeted him, and then began to look Yoshida up and down. Just a moment later, someone sighed with a look of disappointment and complained to the assistants behind him, as I told you before, my cat's practice is not enough. That kind of hidden attribute, once activated, will enter a rhythm that can't be stopped at all. However, my cat's performance today has clearly shown that he has not fully mastered this skill. Seeing the two cute girls on the assistant side, after listening to Takahashi Makoto's words, the eyes looking at him became more weird. Yoshida has determined that the culprit of all this is undoubtedly Takahashi Makoto. Yoshida only had a vague understanding of the information revealed by Takahashi Makoto, and looked at Takahashi Makoto with some confusion, and asked curiously, hidden attributes, what are you talking about, Makoto? Oh? My beloved cat, have you forgotten so quickly? Takahashi Makoto squinted his right eye and looked at Yoshida, showing a devilish smile on his face, patting Yoshida's shoulder and giving the so-called friendly tip. At the annual meeting just passed, a certain cross-dressing editor's cat-girl dance. Yoshida looked a little ugly. As if he suddenly reacted, Yoshida looked at the strange-looking assistants around him, and his mouth began to twitch constantly. He stammered in an unbelievable tone, could it be? Hey! My cat, you reacted quite quickly this time, just what you thought. Takahashi Makoto took out a CD from his white coat, and a strange smile appeared on his face. He asked Yoshida with a smile, by the way, your performance at the annual meeting was quite good. Do you need to review it as an audience this time? If Yoshida was pale before, then at this moment it has turned into livid. This also indirectly proves that the so-called face-changing skill does not necessarily require a long time of practice. You only need to master the critical point of everyone's shame to trigger the legendary skill face-changing. No. Stop it. Cheng, no. You can't do this. Under the strong stimulation of Takahashi Makoto, Yoshida has been incoherent, and even the most basic speaking ability can no longer be used normally. My beloved cat, After the training at the annual meeting, you have reached the realm of absolute gentlemen that many mortals cannot reach in their lifetime. You can actually say such disgusting words without shame. Task tisk, the dance at the annual meeting really made you stronger. Takahashi Makoto gave Yoshida a fatal blow with a disgusted look of finding a dead gay, and the next words to the assistant triggered a critical effect. My beloved cat, you must be careful to beware of my beloved cat, the absolute gentleman in the future. Especially Ding Ding and Ryoko, if the my beloved cat invites you to talk or my beloved cat invites you to eat supper event is triggered at night, then what kind of heaven-defying trick is secret true chrysanthemum remnant? I think you will remember it with your body and soul for the rest of your life. Sickening. After hearing Takahashi Makoto's careless reminder, Tintin and Shizukawa's faces turned pale, and they moved cautiously, trying to distance themselves from Yoshida, although there were many people in the room. When it came to the issue of a part of themselves that could not be described, Tintin and Shizukawa both held the attitude of better to believe it than not to believe it. And Yoshida, cough cough, seemed to have been completely petrified. Yoshida, who was finally freed from the petrified state, did not continue to communicate with Makoto Takahashi about the comic content as usual after receiving the manga manuscript today, and directly chose to leave. The reason for retreating was not because of what Takahashi Makoto said before, nor because of the strange look in his assistant's eyes, but because of Takahashi Makoto's excessive and bizarre behavior. I think the content recorded in the CD. Makoto Takahashi rotated the CD in his hand and said something that frightened Yoshida with a smile. It is accompanied by the gay song Yarina Ika, and a little after editing, it will definitely become the best promotional video on a certain dating website. Believe in the strength of the fierce demon king of the Phoenix Academy. I will definitely make you, my beloved cat, a rising star in the transvestite world. Say. Makoto Takahashi activated the skill mouth cannon and hit Yoshida. The effect was outstanding. Yoshida cannot fight. Yoshida fell. Yoshida's eyes were filled with darkness. After sending away Yoshida, who was like a walking zombie, Makoto Takahashi was kind enough to give his assistant a short vacation, and successfully dispelled his fear of Makoto Takahashi. I'm getting a little bored. Yoshida is almost spoiled by you for being bored, but Makoto Takahashi, how dare you say that? Turning to look at Sabas-chan, who had made black tea, Takahashi Makoto rolled on the sofa, hugging the pillow with a depressed look on his face, and started talking. Rina took Rin and CG back to the demon realm to conduct the so-called inheritance ceremony. Hey, Sebastian, has anything interesting happened recently, like Spider-Man fighting Dr. Tentacle in the city? As a butler, Sabas-chan would certainly not complain about Takahashi Makoto's various weird ideas like Yoshida did, but would just respond in a normal manner. Master, that kind of thing only happens in comics, it's impossible in reality. But it's an interesting thing. Really? What incident was it? Makoto Takahashi stopped his laziness, sat up and stared at Sabas-chan blankly, recalling a certain period of dark history, and a depressed look immediately appeared on his face. If it's a murder case, forget it. When I went to talk to the professor about virtual images, I was involved in the case for no reason. I don't want to experience that kind of trouble again. Sabas-chan looked at Makoto Takahashi's depressed look and raised the corners of his mouth into a smile. Previously, when Makoto Takahashi took Sabas-chan to see Professor Yukawa of Taido University, he was involved in a murder case for no reason. The reason why Makoto Takahashi feels depressed is entirely because of Makoto Takahashi's middle-class character and his speech without common sense, which caused the policewoman with an excessive sense of justice to have many misunderstandings and almost regarded Makoto Takahashi as a suspect. Catch him. By the way, in that incident, various evidence showed that the suspect was a student of Taido University. Makoto Takahashi, a fellow student, was still innocently shot even though he was about to graduate. Haha. Master, the so-called trouble, from the side, is actually a kind of fun that people can enjoy. Just like Mr. Yoshida did before, isn't the cat girl's dance something unexpectedly interesting? Makoto Takahashi did not attend the annual meeting before, so Yoshida was forced to perform a cat girl dance. As an all-powerful butler, Sebastian naturally knew Takahashi Makoto's plan, so after carrying out a special disguise, he completely captured Yoshida's performance from the best angle. This was also what Takahashi Makoto had done before. The reason why we have a CD recording Yoshida's performance. In this aspect, my companion cat does have a talent beyond mortal bones. Is the wholehearted attitude during the performance because the interest in that aspect has been fully awakened. A trace of expectation flashed in Takahashi Makoto's eyes. Turned to look at Sabas-chan. Hey, Sabas-chan, what do you think we should do to continue the game? In order to make my familiar cat truly awaken, should we find a certain sword manual? Or a certain book comes and forces him to practice or something? Forcing others, twisting their will, this is not beautiful at all, and it will make interesting games boring, master, Sebastian suggested to Takahashi Makoto with a smile on his face. Bowing slightly, he stood up and said, I feel that at this time, we should use drugs as the main method and emotion as a supplement to induce Mr. Yoshida into the forbidden world from other aspects. We are both the planners of the game and the witnesses of the game. The process will definitely be interesting. Indeed. As expected, our compatibility and tacit understanding are quite good. Haha, as the butler of His Majesty the Fierce Demon King of the Phoenix Academy, how can you not even do trivial things? Yoshida, who was far away in the editorial office of Yuisha, could not help but tremble when he was reading the comics, and his face became a little ugly. Under the gaze of his colleagues on the editorial side, Yoshida screamed with a look of despair on his face. It's not because I feel the thoughts of the evil master and servant, but I actually completely forgot about that invitation. I'm dead this time. I'm absolutely dead. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 302. When Yoshida went to collect the manga manuscripts, the two editors-in-chief of the monthly magazine and the weekly magazine had told Yoshida to remember to inform Takahashi Makoto about matters related to the manga selection activities, but Yoshida suffered from Takahashi Makoto's mouth after cannon attack. I completely forgot about this incident. It was only when Yoshida returned to the editorial office and started to read the comics that he remembered it. So, Yujiro, please. Yoshida clasped his hands and looked at his new wife Eiji's editor-in-chief, Yujiro, who is also the squad leader, with a deceptive look on his face. Will you go to Cheng's house with me? Huh? Why do I want to go with you, Yoshida-kun? Yujiro looked at Yoshida speechlessly, his tone full of disbelief. The editor-in-chief of the cartoonist Phoenix Inferno, but you, Yoshida-kun, oh. The editor-in-chief has obviously told you to remember to tell me. How could you forget such an important thing, Yoshida-kun? So, please, if he had been ridiculed by Yujiro like this before, Yoshida, the leader of the editorial side's poisonous tongue, would definitely launch a sharp counterattack. However, today, after all, Yoshida had something to ask for, so when facing Yujiro, his performance became much weaker. Although you sincerely ask, Yoshida-kun, I'm sorry, but I refuse. Yujiro looked at the schedule on the table and shook his head helplessly. Today I still have to discuss the content of the manga with Shinzuma-kun, and as you know, Yoshida-kun, the competition between Shinzuma-kun and Ajumamenha has been quite fierce during this period. As the editor-in-chief, I naturally have to go all out to support Shinzuma-kun. Ugh. What a waste of time. Seeing that Yuichiro still refused to agree, Yoshida muttered unhappily, then turned and walked towards Hattori, who was carefully reviewing the manga manuscript. After explaining the whole story clearly, Yoshida clasped his hands together and looked at Hattori, the editor-in-chief of Ajumamenha, expectantly. Hattori-kun, please. It can be said that Yoshida has no moral integrity today. Would you like to go to the home of Mangaka Phoenix in Kuma? he didn't immediately give an answer of rejection. After thinking for a moment with a frown, editor Hattori nodded slightly, with a smile on his face, since Yoshida-kun, that's what you asked for, so I'll go with you. It just so happens that I have something I care about and want to ask the cartoonist. No, I should ask Makoto Takahashi. Although it seemed that Hattori had some bad intentions, Yoshida didn't say much, and the worry in his heart actually eased a bit. After all, Hattori, who is Yoshida's temporary teammate, may be able to distract some attention when facing the great devil Makoto Takahashi together. Yoshida understands this principle of dead Taoist friends will not die poor Taoist quite thoroughly. Speaking of Yoshida-kun, why are you so afraid of going to Takahashi Makoto's house today? Hattori looked at Yoshida, who had a "I'm thinking about life" face, and curiously asked what he had been thinking in the editorial department before. The question you need to know is, cartoonist Hohoin Kuma, I have actually seen him a few times before when I was working with Ajumu-menha. Although, as rumored, he is a terminally ill patient with Shuyunibu. But haven't you guys been working together for so many years? Ahaha, this question. He laughed dryly, but Yoshida showed a look called Honkai on his face, staring blankly at Hattori walking beside him. Hattori-kun, do you know, the so-called Shuyunibu, in fact, it is a virus with infinite evolutionary possibilities, and the being named Takahashi Makoto has undoubtedly evolved this virus to a level that is beyond human understanding. Haha. Hattori smiled in agreement and immediately used a special skill to end the conversation that could not continue. What made Hattori really realize what Yoshida was talking about was what they witnessed when the two arrived at Makoto Takahashi's house. In the center of the living room, the sofa and table that were previously placed were moved to one side, replaced by the inexplicable and complicated pattern on the middle floor. Although neither Yoshida nor Hattori understands what those strange combinations of words and patterns mean, as editors, they can still recognize them at a glance. This should appear in many magic comics. A magic circle with a very high rate. The most speechless thing for the two people on the editor's side was that Makoto Takahashi, who usually wore a white coat, was now wearing a black robe, holding an unknown book in his hand. Standing on the edge of the magic circle, he was mumbling words, while Sabas-chan stood aside like a guard, squinting and looking at everyone with a smile. "Chan, what are you doing?" Looking at Makoto Takahashi's strange behavior, Yoshida swallowed hard, with a helpless look on his face. "Are you trying to summon a demon or something?" "Now, Chan, please stop it a little bit." "Demon? Summon that kind of low-level creature? As the Demon King, I can do it without having to draw a magic circle at all." Makoto Takahashi stopped the weird behavior of chanting spells and squinted his right eye. "Yoshida and Hattori, because I've been a little bored lately, I decided to summon the restraints of the world to talk about life and stuff. I heard that both Gaia and Alea are cute little Lolita, although they're not as good as each other. My Rin has chubby little hands and a smooth face when she grows up. I must give her a pair of ponytails. She is wearing a red dress and black stockings. Don't let my Rin be too cute." In addition to his Chuyunibu attribute, Takahashi Makoto is also an extreme daughter-in-law, right? And based on the current performance, it is visually estimated that it has the potential to evolve into it in the future. Listening to Makoto Takahashi changing from chanting the magic circle to showing off how cute his daughter is, Hattori, who followed Yoshida, began to twitch at the corners of his mouth. He looked sympathetically at Yoshida, who looked embarrassed next to him, and finally understood why Yoshida was today. "We are going to form a team and come to Takahashi Makoto's house." In this state where human beings are completely unable to communicate, the cartoonist Phoenix Institute's ferocity is truly immeasurable. "My beloved cat, it was really my mistake to have expectations for your enlightenment." Looking at Hattori, who was smiling apologetically next to Yoshida, Takahashi Makoto lowered his head in disappointment. "Originally, for you, it was only a matter of clearing the Great Demon King dungeon. In fact, it has always been a trial, hoping that you can successfully escape from the human realm. However, I didn't expect that you would choose to engage in such a shameful evasive behavior as a team. What is your awareness as a warrior? Where is the pride of a warrior? My beloved cat, I am so disappointed in you. He has fully realized that he wants to self-destruct. Faced with 2 talking attacks from Makoto Takahashi in one day, Yoshida said today that he really can't stand it anymore. The editor Hattori on the side completely ignored Takahashi Makoto's ferocious skills and was immersed in the manga manuscript on the table. It is indeed like this comic of Dream Eater. Hattori looked at the comics with an increasingly weird look on his face. Hattori will not comment on the content of the comic. Although, as the former editor-in-chief said, the comic is very interesting, what really concerns Hattori is not the interestingness of the comic, but the development of the content of the comic. Takahashi Makoto, the manga Dream Eater. Not knowing how to continue speaking, Hattori had a tangled look on his face. Oh, it seems like you have something to say. Yes, the devil's favorite thing is to watch the struggle and collision of human wills. As a toy in my hands, you try your best to come and perform to please me. Then Mr. Kuma from the Phoenix Institute, is this manga really drawn by you? Hattori stared at Makoto Takahashi seriously, pointed to the manga manuscript in his hand, and had a puzzled look on his face, although in reality, I was the first editor to contact Aiken Mumenjai, but I remember clearly that when we met, there were only 3 of us. I know what you want to ask, sea urchin head. Shaking his head slightly, Takahashi Makoto frankly admitted Hattori's guess under the astonished gazes of Yoshida and Hattori. That's right, the original creator of this comic is not me. No, it should be said that I created the comic. In fact, the original author is not me. Because the current world line does not allow these to exist, that's why I was sent here. World, let me create these comics. All of this is Stein's, Gates' choice. Hattori came to see Makoto Takahashi today. What he wanted to ask, or what he wanted to find out, was that the manga artist Hohoin Kuma was about to serialize some of the new manga Dream Eater in the weekly Shonen Jump. The plot, some unknown details are exactly the same as in reality. When Ajuma Menha came to Yuisha with the manga manuscript, it was Hattori who received the good gay duo. At that time, the 2 of them had not shed their childishness as junior high school students. Although they had the aura of a newborn calf who is not afraid of tigers, their understanding of comics was only at an amateur level. This is a reality. This is something Hattori has personally experienced. However, what shocked Hattori was that in the comic Dream Eaters, what happened in reality was completely reproduced in the comic, without any omissions. Although Hattori also knows that Takahashi Makoto and Ajuma Menha have been friends for many years, and in order to complete the manga, they can also obtain information from each other, but is there a plot about editor Hattori in the manga? You must know that even now, Aiken Mumenha is not able to completely guess his own thoughts, but as a bystander, Takahashi Makoto, who was not present at the time, is not only able to grasp his own mentality very well, but even he himself at the time he is able to know everything he is thinking clearly. This is not an ordinary cartoonist. No, it should be said that except for the existence of Makoto Takahashi, Hattori has no idea who has such a ferocious ability. Sea urchin head, I know what you are thinking. I have told you before, the so-called truth. Unfortunately, it seems that you neither choose to believe it nor agree with it. Tisk, tisk, this is really a pity. Makoto Takahashi shook his head helplessly and turned to look at Yoshida aside. My beloved cat, I already know the purpose of your coming this time, so if there is nothing wrong, please leave. After all, what this sea urchin head and I are going to talk about next is not something you can come into contact with. After all, your strength is too weak. It seems too early to take on the task of organizing crusade and extermination now. Yoshida, who looked sad and angry, originally wanted to resist Takahashi Makoto's ridicule, but when he saw Takahashi Makoto slowly drew out the magic sword and stared at him with a smile, he decisively chose to avoid and run away. This speed, it seems that my familiar cat has eaten the shining fruit. Faced with Yashida's rapid retreat, Takahashi Makoto just sighed at the speed of the other party's escape, and then turned his attention to one editor. Hattori said with a stern face, "Then sea urchin head, it's your turn next. I want to know, in the comics, there is something related to me, the character of editor Hattori, Takahashi Makoto, no, Phoenix Academy Kuma-sensei, how on earth do you know?" "Because I have peeked into the world line and can see everything that has happened in the past and the future that has not happened yet, although my answer is this, it seems that you, sea urchin head, do not agree with this answer." Looking at Hattori editor's face with a strong look of doubt on his face, Takahashi Makoto spread his hands helplessly and activated the special skill of changing the topic. "But let's stop this question. Now, let's talk about the future of Ajumu-menha." Hearing this, Hattori looked at Makoto Takahashi strangely. As the editor-in-chief of Aken-mu-menha, Hattori spent too much time on Aken-mu-menha. As the mentor of the pair of good friends, he witnessed the growth and failure of the two people along the way, but listening to Gao Qiaocheng's tone seemed to be that the two people who were currently in the limelight were going to encounter some big trouble, and he couldn't help but become a little nervous. "Huh? Aken-mu-menjai, is there any problem? You should know about the matter between which Rina and me, sea urchin, right?" After watching Hattori nod, he fell into deep thought. Makoto Takahashi showed a look of sympathy on his face. Lande-san visually predicted that he would meet someone with "I have similar troubles." After all, the voice actress sister is very popular recently. Although I asked a certain four-eyed fox to help me, it seems that mortals can't defy the power of the world's will after all, even if I change it. World line, but everything still runs according to the original trajectory. Although at the beginning, I didn't understand why Takahashi Makoto mentioned the matter between himself and Rina, but now I have no intention of listening to Takahashi Makoto, because Hattori already knows what Takahashi Makoto wants to say. When a cartoonist and a voice actor become lovers, this kind of thing will definitely be more troublesome than imagined. Especially not long ago, Hattori learned from some channels that an animation company wanted to contact Ajumu-menha and had the intention to animate Ajumu-menha's recently serialized Reversi. Originally, Hattori planned to tell Ajumu-menha the news today, but now that he heard what Makoto Takahashi said, Hattori couldn't be happier at all. Based on Hattori's understanding of Ajumu-menha, if Reversi is really animated, then Lande, who is a cartoonist, will definitely ask for his lover to be the heroine. This originally didn't have much of a problem, but if the unscrupulous media knew about the relationship between the CEO's sister and Landai, it would definitely trigger all kinds of negative news. Not only will it damage the reputation of the CEO's sister, but it will also hit Ajumu-menha. This is not what Hattori wants to happen. And what really causes this problem is... Hey, sea urchin head, don't stare at me with such a cruel look. Makoto Takahashi naturally knew what Hattori was thinking, with an unhappy look on his face. "Even if my comic Dream Eater is unlimited, this kind of thing cannot be concealed after being pushed back. After all, it is the invincible great will of the world that determines everything. Although I call myself the Demon King, I will be excluded or obliterated by this world if I can only compete with the great will of the world." He was directly rejected by others before even making a request, even though the reason for the rejection was so bizarre that it was unacceptable. Hattori leaned on the sofa feebly, not knowing how to help Ajumu-menha at this time of confusion. Just as Makoto Takahashi said, some things cannot be concealed. Even if Makoto Takahashi can agree to delay the serialization of the manga, he will not be able to prevent the exposure of this matter. After all, Hattori will not take any chances and think that this matter can be concealed. Everyone, especially when Reversi is likely to be animated. Don't be so entangled. After all, this is all Steins Gate's choice, so just wait and see what happens. Makoto Takahashi's initial persuasion did ease Hattori's entangled mood, but someone's next move the words made editor Hattori feel a little calm. But I always feel that this matter is super interesting. If I wait until the situation becomes chaotic, and then drag the Toran Jisang into it, maybe it will be more interesting, right? This desire to make a chaotic situation even more chaotic, should it be said that the manga artist Shoinkuma is worthy of it? Hattori looked at Makoto Takahashi's expectant expression, and at this moment he had a vague idea. I have been able to get along with such a guy for so many years without being tortured to the point of going crazy. That guy Yoshida is really not that simple. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 303. The figure who works hard for others is always the most shining one. Just like in the comic Clannad, Fuko-chan hopes that her sister Ibuki-kun can have a happy life and keeps working hard for it. Although the content of the previous monthly magazine has made many readers aware of something wrong, the real brutal and fatal blow still comes from the new issue of Must Win Junk. In this episode, the little figure that moved the readers. Fuko carved a wooden starfish for everyone, hoping that the person who received this special starfish gift can come to attend her sister's wedding. Although it has been revealed in the comics that Fuko's real body was in a vegetative state and was lying in a coma in the hospital because of a car accident on the day of enrollment, most readers, after seeing Fuko's efforts, think that Fuko will be able to wake up before Ibuki-kun gets married, and happily attend her sister's wedding. However, the content of the new episode of Clannad has entered the provocative and sarcastic mode. Not only did it not wake up Fengzi, but it also violated the will of the readers and opened a dark and heartbreaking branch. In the comics, the number of stars released by Fengzi began to decrease gradually. Although Fengzi did not complain, she still showed a look of loss on her face. Okazaki Tomoya, who had been following Fengzi, noticed this abnormality. Although Okazaki Tomoya thought it was just an illusion at first, it was like this for several consecutive days, so it was not an illusion. Fengzi gradually began to be forgotten by the people in the school. There are more and more people ignoring Fengzi, which is actually not a big problem. After all, no matter how small the school is, it is equivalent to a microcosm of society. The indifference and defense between people cannot be broken by just a loli who often acts cute. But the plot that really makes readers feel unacceptable is the Mitsui glasses girl classmate who seemed to have been whitewashed before. As the first girl with glasses who rejected Fengzi in the comics, although she changed her mind and found Fengzi again in the previous content, accepted Fengzi's wooden starfish, and promised to attend the wedding when she had time, although at the beginning, Mitsui's behavior made the readers who read the comics very unhappy, but through the subsequent whitewashing, many readers still accepted Mitsui's glasses girl. Because this also proves that Fengzi's efforts have not been wasted, and the intentions contained in it have indeed been well conveyed. However, in the content of this episode, Mitsui's glasses girl completely forgot about this matter, and even couldn't see Fengzi's existence. Such a development has begun to make readers feel uneasy, and the content of the subsequent series has indeed verified this ominous premonition of the readers. The Fengzi guards that were born to support Fengzi before, like Mitsui's glasses girl, not only can't see Fengzi anymore, but even forget the existence of Fengzi. The comics have been serialized here, and many readers have begun to feel depressed. After all, Fengzi worked so hard, but in return, she was gradually forgotten by people, and all the previous efforts were wasted. This strong sense of contrast is indeed difficult for many people to accept. Of course, in this episode, the most surprising existence is not Okazaki Tomoya who gradually realized the truth, nor is it Fengzi who has been working hard, but the cute male supporting role of Haru Harayahei, who has been a funny character since the comics were serialized, cooperating with Okazaki Tomoya to show his dark belly. Since the comics were serialized to the present, Haruhara Yahei has always been regarded by readers as a hot-blooded fool with a lack of mind. Although he is often teased by the male protagonist Okazaki Tomoya, he has never shown disgust for the male protagonist, and still believes in Okazaki Tomoya from the bottom of his heart. With the trend of Okazaki abuses me thousands of times, I treat Tomoya like my first love. After all, in this episode, Haruhara Yahei was the first to discover Feng's abnormality after Okazaki Tomoya and Furukawa Nagisa. When Fuko was delivering a wooden starfish, she was completely ignored by three boys passing by. Haruhara Yahei angrily argued with them, but the three boys' answers made Haruhara Yahei fall into a state of confusion. Where are the cute girls? Aren't you Haruhara Yahei the only one from beginning to end? Facing Haruhara Yahei's questioning, the innocent trio said a fact that shocked Haruhara Yahei and the readers. Haruhara Yahei, who had already noticed something was wrong, found his good friend and started questioning. Combining the fact that the person who was about to get married was Fuko's sister and the name of the person who was about to get married was Ibuki Kimiko, Haruhara Yahei directly pointed out Fuko's identity to Okazaki Tomoya. Although he usually looks heartless, for Haruhara Yahei who values friends, this intuition is beyond the expectations of many readers. Especially after seeing that Okazaki Tomoya refused to tell the truth, Haruhara Yahei decided to go to the hospital in person to take a look. I have this feeling that once Haruhara goes to the hospital to see Fuko, he will be like everyone else and will never see Fuko again. He did not dissuade Haruhara Yahei from his behavior, because Okazaki Tomoya was also confused now, so he did not say what he was thinking. Although when seeing this, many readers couldn't help shouting, hoping that Haruhara Yahei would not go to the hospital, but unfortunately Haruhara Yahei still went. Okazaki Tomoya did not say anything in the manga, which made readers feel uneasy in their hearts. After all, many such things have already happened in this chapter of the manga. Fuko was gradually forgotten. The Mitsui girl with glasses who had finally accepted the wooden starfish had forgotten Fuko. The trio of fans who had vowed to launch a support group for Fuko had also completely forgotten Fuko. Even the same goes for the Tenglin sisters, but now it is Chunhara Yanghei's turn, which means, according to the development of the manga, sooner or later Okazaki Tomoya and Furukawa Nagisa will also forget Fuko. The development of the manga is just as expected by Okazaki Tomo. After Haruhara Yahei went to the hospital, he did forget everything about Fuko, and even why he went to the hospital. Of course, Haruhara Yahei also did the same. I can't see Fuko again. Okazaki Tomoya and Furukawa Nagisa have fallen into isolation. As the only ones in the school who can see Fuko-chan, they naturally become very depressed. However, Haruhara Hinata, who had completely forgotten everything, appeared with a smile as always. This expected plot development naturally made everyone on the reader's side sigh. Okazaki Tomoya, who was in a depressed state, found it difficult to control his emotions when faced with the clueless Haruhara Hinata. The two good friends had their first quarrel in the comics, and even had a fight if they disagreed. 300 rounds trend. Hey, why do you look so unhappy? Hey, I'm talking about Fuko-chan, can you say something too? Haruhara Yahei, who was arguing with Okazaki Tomoya, suddenly said such a sentence, which made the depressed Okazaki Tomoya and Furukawa Nagisa immediately jumped up from their seats with excitement. Then Chunyuan Yahei, who realized it later, sighed with a blank look on his face. I seem to have said something strange just now. That's someone else's name. That's a girl's name, just like a drowning man grabbing a life-saving straw. Okazaki Tomoya grabbed Haruhara Hinata's shoulders and shook him hard. Haruhara-san, please recall quickly. Furukawa Nagisa was also looking at Haruhara Hinata with excitement at this moment. No, I can't remember it anymore. The disappointed expression on Haruhara Yahei's face was the first time this expression appeared in the comic Clannad, but I still feel that there is still some feeling, and I feel that this person exists. Fuko was not angry because Haruhara Yanghei forgot about her, but once again sent a wooden starfish to Chunyuan Yanghei. However, Haruhara Yanghei was holding the wooden starfish and fell into a state of complete confusion. What is this? Stars. Darts. I don't understand. Just like when he got the wooden starfish before, Haruhara Yuhei always thought that the wooden starfish was a star or a dart, and he was ridiculed by Fuko in various ways. When seeing the scene now, the readers who were laughing happily at first feel a sense of suppressed irritability, and they really can no longer laugh at all. Okazaki, Zyanagisa, listen to me, I don't hate her, I seem to feel this way. She's Fuko-chan, Hara-san. It's Fuko-chan. Fengzi. No need, that's enough. Thank you, Hara-san. What a considerate person. Looking at Haruhara Hinata, who was gradually walking away, Fuko holding Hixing in her arms showed a rare mature expression on her face. That guy is an idiot. If you don't get along well with Fengzi when you can still see him, that person will definitely come. Furukawa Nagisa, who hugged Fengzi tightly, did not let Fengzi fall into fantasy mode this time, but spoke softly to comfort Fengzi. Ibuki-sensei's wedding, Hara-san must be come back. Readers who originally thought the comic would end like this never expected that there would be an even more heartbreaking scene next. In order to comfort the disappointed Fuko-chan, Okazaki Tomoya and Furukawa Nagisa took Fuko to buy gifts. During the trip, Fuko-chan behaved like a child, which made many readers feel funny and sad at the same time. When the three returned home, just as Okazaki Tomoya had guessed before, the bad uncle Furukawa Akio had indeed forgotten the existence of Fuko-chan. Although Uncle Chiu-sheng said with a depressed face that he went out to play baseball to vent his anger, no matter the three people in the comic or the readers, they can feel that this is actually Uncle Chiu-sheng being arrogant. After Uncle Akio left, Sani came out with the same smile as usual, and said words that shocked the readers. Welcome back, Tomoya-kun, Nagisa-chan, and Fuko-chan. This is undoubtedly the most fortunate news for everyone on the reader side. Especially when looking at the comics, when the three of them say I'm back with joyful faces, the reader feels full of happiness, and all the previous unpleasantness is instantly cured. After all, Sani can still see Fuko-chan. Unfortunately, the subsequent development was the most fatal blow. Fuko-chan was clearly standing between Okazaki Tomoya and Furukawa Nagisa, but Sani walked straight to the door and greeted the empty door. The white lie was exposed in an instant, and she tried her best to the hidden truth will be difficult to sustain after all. Like everyone else, Sani can't see Fuko-chan. The gap from heaven to hell, although this metaphor is a bit exaggerated, it is not at all for readers who have read this chapter of the comic. Although the content of this chapter of the comic ends here, the cruel malice of the cartoonist named Feng Guangai Yuan Kyoma has indeed been well conveyed. At least from those exaggerated remarks on the internet, we can feel it. According to Hao Win Kyoma's character, the next chapter will definitely make everyone forget the existence of Fuko. If this happens, I will definitely talk to him about life. I second the motion. The most mad cartoonist this year is undoubtedly Hao Win Kyoma. I agree. I advise everyone not to play the game Kanon. That game has killed many of our pioneers. Since the animation Air and the comics Clannad are competing with the game, the results are estimated to be similar. I still have to cry for a while. The ending of Kanon makes my heart ache when I think about it. Originally, it was just a discussion of the content of the comic Clannad, but many people who have been killed by the game Kanon also joined in. After all, the mutual promotion of the three works not only increased the attention, but also seemed to add hatred to each other. Hee. As expected, once the three tear-jerking stories are released, the effect is outstanding. Takahashi Makoto browsed the messages on the internet, a trace of satisfaction flashed in his eyes, and turned to look at Sebastian beside him. How is the matter? I asked you to check before. Just as you predicted, The approximate time is these few days. But, Sebastian said halfway, took out a large box of comics from behind, handed it to Takahashi Makoto, and said to Takahashi Makoto with a smile, "Mr. Yoshida seems to be in order to prevent you from making an unexpected appearance, so he specially sent these comics that need to be reviewed before." Huh? Delaying time? Extremely stupid. Should I say that you are worthy of being my cat? It's really a petty way. Makoto Takahashi looked at the comics in the box with a look of disdain on his face. Do you think that this level of quantity can restrain the great demon king Feng Guangai Yuan Kima? Too sweet, my cat is really too sweet. I understand. Sebastian slightly bowed, raised his eyebrows, looked at the figure that flashed by the door of the bedroom, and said with interest, "Coffee is ready for you." But Miss Rina. Witch's side? Tisk. Makoto Takahashi seemed to have noticed something, and after hesitating for a moment, he said loudly in the direction of the bedroom, "Which, are you interested in going with the Demon King to see the so-called mortal struggle and the change of the world?" Ahem, a certain cat is back, meow. A middle school cartoonist. Author, Mao Do Sde Mao. Chapter 304. Like Takahashi Makoto, Little Sea Otter, as a cartoonist discovered by Yoshida, naturally received a lot of care from Yoshida. Although from the perspective of cartoonists and editors, Takahashi Makoto and Little Sea Otter belong to the same level of existence, the so-called root nature has led to different treatment of the two. At least in front of Little Sea Otter, he always displays the S attribute. Yoshida is definitely not an S in front of Makoto Takahashi, just an M. This may be the so-called strong will win. Searched can on Google. However, because Yoshida's appearance time has been greatly shortened recently, Takahashi Makoto, who was a little curious, asked the universal butler Sebastian to investigate, and found some interesting things. It seemed that Yoshida was planning a famous, how to make the Little Sea Otter successfully propose to Miss Kang Shuhong. The reason why Yoshida doesn't want Takahashi Makoto to know about this is because Yoshida's instinct reminds him all the time that once a certain Chuyunibu is involved, let alone whether the Little Sea Otter can successfully propose. In terms of the development of things, it will definitely take an unpredictable turn. Yoshida took advantage of Makoto Takahashi's role as a comic selection, and secretly collected a large number of manga manuscripts, and sent them to Makoto Takahashi when he was about to start a double series. According to Yoshida's calculations, completing the Clannad manga manuscript required for the monthly magazine and the Dream Eater manga series in Shonen Jump will take up a lot of Makoto Takahashi's time, plus the work of reviewing the manga manuscript. Makoto Takahashi will be very busy in the next period of time, so he should not interfere with his plans. If he were an ordinary cartoonist, Yoshida would never go to such an exaggerated level. After all, the main job of a cartoonist is to complete the cartoon manuscript, and reviewing the cartoons is just a formality at the request of the superiors. However, considering the speed with which Makoto Takahashi completed the manga manuscript, and the existence of the drawer in Makoto Takahashi's house that is suspected of being Tinker Bell's interdimensional space, the exaggerated number of manga manuscripts required for the double serialization cannot delay too much time at all. And once Takahashi Makoto joins the Little Sea Otter's marriage proposal plan, Yoshida can fully imagine how the Little Sea Otter will be crippled by playing, and maybe he will marry him. Therefore, Yoshida, who was ready to plead guilty and apologize to Takahashi Makoto, finally chose this unkind delaying tactic with all his might. Here American, as I said before, today is the moment to decide your fate. Yoshida looked at the nervous Little Sea Otter with a serious look on his face, patted the other's shoulders hard, and gave him the final encouragement. What should I do specifically? Do it, I have taught you from beginning to end. It's all up to you. Show your manly side in front of Miss Kang Shuhong, and use your actions to prove your determination to love. Mr. Yoshida, are you really a man if you don't let Kami-sama know about this matter? For the Little Sea Otter, there is always a feeling of uneasiness in the heart without the participation of spiritual mentor Makoto Takahashi in matters like marriage proposal. Although from an emotional point of view, the little sea otter also believes that Yoshida's choice is correct, but the slavish rational instinct established under the long-term training of Takahashi Makoto is very resistant to the battle plan given by Yoshida. Here American, you can't rely on Cheng for everything, although there are many ways to persuade, for Yoshida who is worried about the changes later incident. At this moment, every second is quite precious. Seeing the worried expression on the little sea otter's face, Yoshida coughed lightly, turned his head and explained slowly, "Ahem, it's not that Aiken doesn't know about this matter. It's just because Aiken has to finish a comic series recently. You also have to review the comics, so you don't have enough time, so you asked me to help you." Although this was not the first time he lied to deceive the little sea otter, this time, Yoshida himself felt a little guilty. Especially looking at the obvious doubts in the eyes of the little sea otter, Yoshida was really worried that the little sea otter would call Makoto Takahashi to confirm. Is this what God-sama means? I understand. The little sea otter looked at Yoshida seriously. Yoshida, I'm asking you for help. Did Yoshida completely overestimate the IQ of the little sea otter? No, it should be that the little sea otter has been enslaved by Makoto Takahashi for a long time and has completely become a die-hard believer in Makoto Takahashi. As long as Makoto Takahashi says it, the little sea otter will completely believe it. In a sense, the most successful male contractor of Makoto Takahashi's family should actually be the little sea otter. Needless to say, the meeting between the little sea otter and Miss Kang Shuhong went into detail. Yoshida, the stalker who completely transformed into the tail-walking maniac, saw that the little sea otter carried out exactly according to the previous plan, with a relieved smile on his face. But before I could express anything, the phone in my pocket suddenly began to vibrate crazily. This is Yoshida. Is there something going on over there? Yoshida looked at the number on his phone, with a solemn look on his face. Because the caller was the monitor arranged to ensure that Makoto Takahashi did not suddenly appear, and he was also an editor on the editorial side of Uesha. Yoshida-kun, as you expected, Takahashi Makoto has already set off from home and is heading towards the amusement park where you are. As the editor of Kang Shuhong, he did not originally intend to get involved in the private life of the cartoonist. Yes, but out of a friend's request, I agreed to Yoshida and helped monitor Takahashi Makoto, and... Hey! Is this really the case? Yoshida spat bitterly. After hesitating for a moment, he took a deep breath, with a look of determination on his face. Since the target has appeared, then follow the instructions as stated in the previous plan, interception will be carried out. But Yoshida-kun, do this. Before the other party could finish speaking, Yoshida hung up the phone. Putting down the phone in his hand, he turned around and observed the two people who were visiting the amusement park over there. The solemn look between Yoshida's eyebrows became even stronger. Although he had deliberately teased the little sea otter before, Yoshida never expected that the little sea otter would be so nervous when getting along with Miss Kang Shuhong. Especially when he saw the mechanized postures and movements of the little sea otter walking, Yoshida, who was hiding behind and watching, immediately covered his forehead with his hands. Although you can delay that guy Chang, here American, please try your best. Seeing the little sea otter's overly nervous behavior, Yoshida, who was furious, suddenly felt a deep sense of powerlessness. He raised his hand and looked at his watch. He sighed helplessly, the time is almost up, I have to stop Takahashi Makoto. Here American, I can only help you get here. At the entrance of the amusement park, Makoto Takahashi was wearing a white coat, squinting his right eye and looking around, while Rina beside him was wearing sunglasses and holding Takahashi Makoto's arm tightly. Although Rina was quite dissatisfied with Makoto Takahashi's white coat, but when she thought that today was the date proposed by Makoto Takahashi, her dissatisfaction disappeared instantly. Check the equipment, Makoto Takahashi turned his gaze back to Rina, who looked happy, gently pulled the blindfold on his face, and said seriously, I have already felt it, hiding around those monsters. They haven't even mastered the low-level skills of concealing murderous intent, but they still want to ambush the devil and the witch. It's so sweet. Eh? Ambush. Looking at Makoto Takahashi, who was on guard, Rina lowered her head in frustration, tightened her hands on Makoto Takahashi's arms, and murmured dissatisfiedly, it turns out that Chenkun today, it turns out it's not just a date. My witch, don't show such a sad expression. Makoto Takahashi gently rubbed Rina's head, today is indeed a date, and the main program is mortal struggle. But follow the normal procedures. Before the main program starts, we need to enjoy the side show specially arranged by some kind people, so we. Takahashi Makoto was interrupted before he finished speaking to comfort Rina. In order to delay Makoto Takahashi, Yoshida deliberately broke the news on the internet, saying that manga artist Shoin Kuma would appear at the amusement park today with his wife Rina Ogata. Although many people have doubts about the authenticity of this news, there are still some enthusiastic fans who came to the entrance of the amusement park to wait. The white coat, the eye patch, that's right, it's indeed the manga artist Shoin Kuma. Huh? Is the Phoenix Academy really fierce? So the woman next to you is Her Royal Highness Princess Rina. It actually appeared. I just took the opportunity to ask about the follow-up development of Clannad. I just want to know if there will be another chance for the East to appear in the future. Although today is a working day, there are not many people in the amusement park, but in just a moment Takahashi Makoto and Rina were surrounded by people. Yoshida, who was hiding in the distance, sighed after seeing such a scene and whispered, I'm sorry Chang, today is a very important day for Hirameru-kun, so. I have to say that Yoshida took into account the popularity of Makoto Takahashi and Rina and specially arranged for fans to implement the interception plan at the door. It was quite successful. At least the sky was getting dark, and Yoshida, who had been tracking and monitoring the little sea otter, didn't see Takahashi Makoto's intrusion. But before Yoshida could breathe a sigh of relief, the phone in his pocket vibrated again. Nani? Aiken is missing. After hearing the news from his companions, Yoshida had an ominous premonition in his heart. If it weren't for the close distance to the little sea otter now, Yoshida would definitely use cat's roar. What's going on? Didn't I tell you to pay attention to a good place before? Ahem, at this time, it shouldn't matter anymore, right? Yoshida-kun, that's it, I'm going back. The other party seemed to be in a hurry and hung up the phone before Yoshida could finish speaking. Ouch. Damn it, Yoshida complained unwillingly after listening to the busy tone on the phone. He turned to look at the little sea otter and let out a long sigh, but it shouldn't matter now. Now Hirameru-kun and the eldest lady got on the Ferris wheel. As long as she completes her proposal of marriage at the highest point, even if that troublemaker Cheng shows up. Although things developed as planned with the little sea otter, Yoshida always felt a little uneasy. Is it because of Makoto Takahashi, or? What's going on? Yoshida, who was monitoring the little sea otter with a telescope, suddenly found the little sea otter in the Ferris wheel and started to take off his clothes crazily. After Yoshida pondered for a moment, a look of surprise appeared on his face, and he complained in a tone of hatred, that idiot Hirameru-kun. How could he lose his engagement ring at this time? In order to create a romantic proposal environment for the little otter, Yoshida had spent a lot of effort to persuade the staff of the Ferris wheel in the amusement park to stop the machine for 15 minutes when the Ferris wheel they were riding reached the highest point. However, the little otter forgot to bring the wedding ring due to nervousness, which made Yoshida feel like digging his own grave. Oh, my cat, your practice is not enough. Just when Yoshida was complaining about himself, Takahashi Makoto's voice came from behind. Although heroes always appear at critical moments, it's a pity that this time, it's the devil and the witch. Sorry, Makoto, I didn't mean to. Yoshida turned his head with an apologetic look. He originally wanted to briefly explain the whole story to Makoto Takahashi, but after seeing the pose Makoto Takahashi was posing at the moment and the weapon in his hand, Yoshida's face turned pale instantly. "Ah-chan, the weapon in your hand, are you going to start a war? A cat hates naughty children. The network cable was cut yesterday, and the host keyboard was full of drinks. Damn, it's lucky that it can still be used today. XX, what did you learn in school? Sing and dance? Perform for uncle, okay. Do it again in revenge." A certain cat made the naughty child sing and dance non-stop. If it creates a psychological trauma or something, he probably won't come to the certain cat's house again in the future, right? A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 305. Chapter 305. Ahem, the charm of that arrow. With a magic sword hanging on his waist, 4 spears hanging on his back, and a red cloak, Makoto Takahashi stood behind Yoshida with a playful look on his face. What is most unacceptable to Yoshida is that Takahashi Makoto is holding a huge longbow in his hand. Let's not mention Hashi Makoto's attire, which is fully armed and always ready for war. Just the windy red cloak on his body made it difficult for Yoshida to accept it for a moment. A white coat and an eye patch, this is Makoto Takahashi's usual outfit when he goes out. Since meeting Makoto Takahashi, Yoshida has rarely seen Makoto Takahashi wearing anything other than the above-mentioned outfits. I once had the honor to visit Makoto Takahashi's bedroom, and the wardrobe of white coats of the same style allowed Yoshida to accumulate a huge amount of complaints. In Yoshida's deep memory, except for some necessary occasions, Makoto Takahashi always dressed in a white coat. Although Yoshida also knew that when the little sea otter was in trouble, it was definitely not the time to complain. However, looking at Makoto Takahashi's attire, Yoshida couldn't help but complain, "By the way, Chan, you look like this. What's going on? Not to mention the weapons on your body, and your hair, it's so troublesome to complain about them all, I don't even know how to start." Humph. My beloved cat, all this is because of you. Makoto Takahashi glanced at Yoshida angrily, with strong resentment on his face, and complained in a bad tone, "I originally planned to meet the witch today. It was a pleasant date, but you ignorant ants completely ignored your own nature and kept harassing us. You and Rina-chan are here, on a date." After being persecuted by Makoto Takahashi for a long time, he developed paranoia of being raped, so after learning the truth, Yoshida felt like crying without tears. Feeling. Originally, Yoshida thought that Makoto Takahashi came to the amusement park at this time to tease the little sea otter and get involved in the plot of the little sea otter proposal incident. Who would have thought that Makoto Takahashi and Rina came to the amusement park just because they wanted to just a date? Listening to Makoto Takahashi's narration, Yoshida suddenly felt like he had brought it upon himself. Maybe this is what Makoto Takahashi often said, that everything is Steins Gate's choice? My beloved cat, the guards who appeared at the edge of the barrier earlier were really arranged by you, right? Makoto Takahashi looked at Yoshida's disappointed look. He did not feel the so-called sympathy and pity, but a look on his face. Staring at Yoshida with resentment, "Thanks to you, our interest in dating today was completely ruined by those ignorant humans. Now, my beloved cat chose to be beaten to death and tortured to death. Or choose to be beaten to death and tortured to death. Aren't they all the same?" Although Yoshida had the urge to flip the table, seeing the growing murderous intent on the face of a certain second grader, he finally suppressed this irrational and unscientific stupidity. After thinking about it, he turned to look at Takahashi-chan cautiously, and activated the magic skill of changing the subject. "Speaking of Chan, what's going on with your outfit? I remember when I saw you at the entrance of the amusement park, you were. This is one of the spiritual costumes of the fierce demon king of Phoenix Academy." Makoto Takahashi looked at Yoshida with a bad expression, and took out the bow and arrow from the quiver held by Rina, although the number of ants was increasing at that time, surrounded, but level suppression is a common sense in the world. Have you not forgotten my beloved cat? Although when I was guarding the witch, I couldn't beat the enemy with my bare hands, but Lord IP Man couldn't beat him, but His Majesty the Demon King has treasure after being equipped, even gods can kill. I have never heard of spiritual equipment or anything like that, but, after you have weapons, Chen, can you directly reach the super god killing state? Yoshida has a new understanding of Takahashi Makoto's strength value, and, the skill of changing the topic by visual inspection has hit and taken effect. Hee. Chen-kun, didn't you take me to a remote corner to change your current outfit in order to get away from the fanatical fans? Shouldn't it be said that you are worthy of the title of witch, Rina-sama? At the critical moment, he was really good at dismantling the situation. Under Yoshida's suspicious gaze, Rina's face turned red, and she kept hitting Takahashi Makoto, and Makoto-kun, you are really, in that kind of place, to others. Which, are you sure you want to talk about such a taboo thing in front of my familiar cat with the burning soul of gossip? Seeing the look of surprise on Yoshida's face after his brain was revealed, Makoto Takahashi snorted coldly. With a sound, he hung the long bow diagonally on his body, looked Yoshida up and down, and finally his eyes fell on Yoshida's head, and laughed sinisterly. It is said that people who want to fight against demons can use memory seal technique. The best way is to hit the memory location with a fatal blow, and I heard that the effect will be even better after a critical hit occurs. So, my beloved cat, are you ready? The three people who were talking seemed to have forgotten a certain little sea otter who was still in an embarrassing predicament. According to the previous arrangement, Little Sea Otter and Miss Kang Shuhong are already trapped in the Ferris wheel. The scenery at the highest point is very good, and the atmosphere is very romantic. The only regret is that Little Sea Otter is too excited and nervous. The idiot actually lost the engagement ring. Although Miss Kang Shuhong had vaguely guessed some of the truth, she did not reveal it. Instead, she sat quietly aside and witnessed the whole process of the Little Sea Otter from being nervous and excited to being lost and depressed. Although it is said that a woman in love always has the aura bonus of pen and is in the eye of the beholder towards her partner, Miss Kang Shuhong said that she was really touched by the behavior of the Little Sea Otter. Although I really wanted to encourage the Little Sea Otter, say what I had not finished before, and continue to say what I wanted to say, but seeing the disappointed look on the Little Sea Otter's face, what happened to Miss Kang Shuhong's words when she came to her mouth? I couldn't say it, especially after hearing the Little Sea Otter's whispered thoughts. I've obviously made up my mind. I must propose to Yuri-chan today. Such a good atmosphere, such a romantic environment. Damn, 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 I actually lost it. I'm such a bastard. What a fool. Although Miss Kang Shuhong was startled by the uncharacteristic behavior of the Little Sea Otter today, she still feels very happy to be cared for. Finally mustering up the courage, the time has come for Miss Kang Shuhong to counterattack. Here American, you. Huh? It's Lord God's phone call. Unfortunately, the Little Sea Otter's attention was completely interrupted by the sudden phone call. Miss Kang Shuhong curled her lips helplessly. The courage she had finally built up before was defeated by one blow, and she fell into silence again. Sit next to Yuri-chan, Kami-sama's gift, down there. Not to mention the inexplicable Little Sea Otter, even Kang Shuhong, who looked confused, stood up curiously and looked down from the Ferris wheel. Unfortunately, due to the limitation of their field of vision, Takahashi Makoto and others stood in the blind spot of the two of them. However, the Little Sea Otter still carried out Takahashi Makoto's will very well, sat down next to Kang Shuhong, and held Kang Shuhong's slender hand tightly. Projection, start. Under Yoshida's astonished gaze, Makoto Takahashi, who had transformed into a heroic spirit, used the spear behind his back as a support point, took a deep breath, and pulled out the long bow in an exaggerated arc. And as a throwing attack behind the bow and arrow, there is a beautifully packaged small box hanging. Hey, Chen, are you planning to send Hiramaru-kun's engagement ring with a bow and arrow? Although he had guessed Takahashi Makoto's intention, Yoshida covered his face and said in his tone full of deep suspicion, even if I know that your fighting power is exaggerated, can this kind of thing really be done? Don't you accidentally become a murderer? I said. Humph. As an archer, I have long been able to surpass that red bulldozer in the Hall of Valor. So my beloved cat, just watch quietly from the sidelines. It is not very difficult for Makoto Takahashi to charge up and draw the bow, but if he wants to accurately complete the shooting target, Yoshida, who has never seen Makoto Takahashi playing with a bow and arrow, has a problem at this moment. Deeply worried. It's not that I'm worried about the bow and arrow hitting the target, but I'm worried that Makoto Takahashi will do bad things with good intentions, such as shooting a little sea otter, shooting a young lady, or killing two birds with one stone. Makoto-kun. Come on. Unlike Yoshida, whose face was full of doubts and worries, Rina, the witch who was contracted by Makoto Takahashi, only held her fists and cheered for Makoto Takahashi. Now I understand why there is always a witch beside the Demon King. Already. Let you, stupid humans, witness my spiral power that penetrates the sky. I am the bone of my sword. Makoto Takahashi's sudden roar echoed in the empty venue, even making Yoshida dizzy for a moment. In just the blink of an eye, the bow and arrow in Takahashi Makoto's hand had been shot, aiming directly at the place where the little sea otter and Kang Shuhong were. Although Yoshida tried hard to resist the urge to blink, he still couldn't catch the high-speed flying bow and arrow. Bang! This is the sound of glass being broken, which represents the safe delivery of the engagement ring, and also represents the style of Makoto Takahashi. Sure enough, the struggle of ignorant mortals needs the joint witness of the devil and the witch to complete the circuit of fate. Makoto Takahashi directly threw aside the bow and arrow he had just used, and took off the silver wig on his head, with a happy face. He looked at Yoshida and said, "My beloved cat, the rest of the aftermath will be left to you. By the way, since the little sea otter has chosen Miss Kang Shuhong, you should also cut off the love in your heart. Are you obsessed? Although I don't discriminate against the shameful fighting between men, we still try not to have bloody battles between guns and anus." Before Yoshida could react, Takahashi Makoto suddenly picked up the shy Rina like a princess and quickly disappeared from Yoshida's sight. When Yoshida reacted, he was stopped by the dedicated staff just as he was about to move. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 306. After the comic review, it's the so-called awards banquet. Although Takahashi Makoto had promised to bring Rina to this banquet, the organizer took into account Takahashi Makoto's existing popularity, so the invitations were not only sent to Rina-chan, but also to those who have been hanging around Takahashi Makoto's house all year round. The assistant side was also invited. There is no formal dress requirement, so Takahashi Makoto still appears in the iconic attire of white coat. Takahashi Makoto has persuaded Rina and his assistant several times to wear uniforms white coat to attend banquets. However, everyone clearly rejected it. Even Rina, who has always supported Makoto Takahashi, has shown a firm attitude on this issue. Just like Takahashi Makoto, if you wear a white coat to attend the awards banquet, you will definitely be considered to have Shuyunibu syndrome. This is the common conclusion reached by the assistant after making eye contact with the witch. On the surface, they look like they are having a great conversation, but when they turn around, they want to stab each other to death. The smile in human social situations is indeed in line with the original sin of hypocrisy, you mouth. Makoto Takahashi, wearing a white coat, kept shaking the wine glass in his hand, spreading the Chuyuni radio waves without any scruples. He said he was bringing Rina to a grand event, but it turned out to be someone in a white coat who was constantly mocking the inferior nature of human beings. So, is it possible to kill Takahashi Makoto and activate the divine expansion of your wife Iraise? Except for Rina, who has close contact with Takahashi Makoto, the one closest to Takahashi Makoto is naturally the little sea otter whose favorability is already off the charts. Since giving the little sea otter god an assist, the little sea otter has completely become Takahashi Makoto's lackey disciple. What's more, Miss Kang Shuhong did not show up today, so whether it is out of proof of firm belief or out of wife control job change grateful for the help, the little sea otter naturally just followed Makoto Takahashi. After the little sea otter's proposal incident, Takahashi Makoto once discussed with his assistant, if to defeat the opposite sex you need to learn many strategy skills from Kami-sama, then when defeating the same sex, help change the job to wife controller or husband controller. What is absolutely the best method? So, if Zhou didn't commit suicide by robbing a cicada, Buledin wouldn't betray him, and then maybe he could kill a certain wife molester, a big-eared thief and a certain genetic mutant in the future, and establish the Great Dong Empire orders the world to obey, no one dares to disobey. Don't be so nervous, little sea otter-kun of true wife controller. Makoto Takahashi squinted his right eye, staring at some ignorant high-end electric lamp, trying to use the magic of language to expel him. Since the eldest lady has not shown up on this occasion, you can play as much as you want, such as sex, drinking, or running into a dark corner to play shameful games with my beloved cat. Anyway, I won't secretly do anything like that. The wife of a gay friend snitches on you, at most, Sabas-chan will record all your words and deeds and hand them over to the eldest lady in a dignified manner. Cheng, leave Hiramaru-kun to me. I won't disturb you anymore. Yoshida, who was tricked and killed by Takahashi Makoto in the amusement park battle, now appeared in front of Takahashi Makoto in full state and resurrected. With a depressed look on his face, the little sea otter dragged him away, taking along with him all the people on the assistant side. It must be said that Yoshida, who had activated the sense moment and color skill, was really superior when it came to increasing Takahashi Makoto's favorability. What a mortal talent! Tisk, 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 looking at those donuts, swimming rings and fat pigs around, it really affects your appetite. Makoto Takahashi drank the wine in his hand, turned to Rina and said apologetically, greedy eyes, a rotten body made of wealth, a sanctimonious and hypocritical smile, seeing such a filthy and turbid world, have you ever thought about changing everything with me? Let us completely eliminate mankind and let the entire world be wiped out. The world will restart. As the rulers of the new world, we will no longer be witches and devil kings, but become the ancestors of mankind. Oh, isn't this Mr. Takahashi Makoto? It's been a long time since we last met. Makoto Takahashi was about to continue taunting everyone present in order to instill a correct worldview into Rina, when suddenly the sound of someone who needed a beating rang in his ears. There was no need to look back, Makoto Takahashi knew who was coming. Hey! Sure enough, it's you, four-eyed fox. Did you target any prey again this time? Takahashi Makoto turned around and saw Chen Ben with a smile on his face. He subconsciously pulled Rina behind him and used the voice that everyone around could hear whispered, you have to pay attention. Once the four-eyed fox in front of me smiles at you, then you have to be careful. Because the four-eyed fox in front of you, but he is full of bad intentions and has the inherent barrier of trap anyone anytime, anywhere without paying for his life, and the most unscrupulous thing is that this four-eyed fox appears to be a neutral camp existence, but in fact, its true form has been wandering around all over the world. There are multiple spy identities in a large organization. After 3 seconds of silence, the awkward smile on Chen Ben's face did not fade away, but he helplessly spread his hands to Takahashi Makoto and Rina. At least we have been cooperating for several years. But it seems that Mr. Takahashi Makoto seems to have some misunderstanding. This is really troubling. The four-eyed fox guy has indeed become more difficult to deal with again. It seems that he has broken through some bottlenecks. It seems that the level of vigilance needs to be raised to a new natural disaster level in the future. Hey, Mr. Takahashi Makoto, there is an interesting plan here at the Oga Society. Chenben pushed his glasses and showed a wicked smile on his face. Take a closer look at Chenben's current appearance, and you will know why Takahashi Makoto always calls him the four-eyed fox. Would you mind if I could take up a little of your time to discuss this? Yada. I refuse. Takahashi Makoto grabbed Rina's hand, immediately moved back, and looked at Chenben vigilantly. Originally, I lacked a good impression of you, the four-eyed fox, and maintained the necessary vigilance, especially today you actually showed the same look as Kyubei. Sure enough, the correct way to get along with you should be to constantly change the world line, enter the infinite cycle time period, and torture you again and again. Completely inexplicable, Chenben looked at Takahashi Makoto, who was about to escape with Rina, and a trace of helplessness appeared on his face. After hesitating several times, Chenben finally chose to leave sadly. However, before Takahashi Makoto had time to breathe a sigh of relief, a large group of people who were once evaluated by Takahashi Makoto as the source of depravity suddenly surrounded him. I'm from Tianhe Animation Company. I'm from Yai Animation Company. Just when Takahashi Makoto was surrounded by many animation company producers, in a corner not far away, a pair of good friends were holding food with a look of jealousy, staring at the two places where the crowd was the most dense. Shinzuma-kun and Aiken are both very good. A yellow-haired guy sighed. Indeed. They seem to be producers of animation companies. Landai pouted unhappily and turned to look at his good friends. Although our Reversi serialized some time ago has performed very well recently, I feel that it can compete with Shinzuma-kun's Zombie Gun, but now after seeing this scene, I feel that we are still far behind. After solving the problem of food and clothing, it is natural to start enjoying. The reason why human beings continue to progress is that desire is the decisive driving force. Yashiro Mumanjai, who finally got out of trouble with the new series, was quite confident when he came to attend the banquet. After all, being invited as a cartoonist represents a kind of recognition, but after seeing the current treatment of Nazuma Eiji and Takahashi Makoto, the good friends felt a strong sense of loss. Excuse me. Is this Mr. Yashiro Mumanjai? A fat man kept wiping the sweat from his forehead and handed a business card to the two puzzled people. I do this. Move, animation producer. Looking at the business card in their hands, Yashiro Mumanjai and the others exclaimed, and felt that the thin business card in their hands suddenly weighed more than 1,000 pounds. Miura-kun, did you get there first? Just as Yashiro and Mumanjai were still surprised, Chenben, who was called a four-eyed fox by Takahashi Makoto, came to them with a glass of wine and a smile. Hello, Mr. Yashiro and Mumanjai, I'm Chenben from the Ogawa Society. Ogawa Society, the yellow-haired man with glasses who reacted first was even more surprised this time. Seeing his best friend's puzzled expression, the man with yellow hair and glasses started to stutter a little because he was too excited. The best, Taigasa, is that very famous animation company. The animation of Aiken's comics since his debut, all of them are from this company. Hey. That means. Landai's face became very exciting, a hint of expectation flashed in his eyes, and he looked at Chenben a little uncertainly. So Mr. Chenben, are you planning to? Well. Just as you think, Mr. Yachin Mumanai, Taigasa wants to obtain the animation copyright of Reversi. Chenben pushed his glasses, still maintaining his cunning fox smile, completely ignoring the ugly face of Miura next to him, and asked the two dazed people, I don't know what the two teachers think. How about it? Chenben, you are being a little unfair, aren't you? The fat man Miura, who was intercepted, was a little dissatisfied and said sarcastically, you know, the first one to ask Aken mu Menjai. Oh? Are you talking about the question of first come first served? Chen Ben interrupted the fat man Miura's words without any hesitation, and after emphasizing a certain word, he chuckled disdainfully, although I am very sure that after listening to my plan, Mr. Aken mu Menjai will agree to hand over the animation copyright to our Dehi Society, but before Mr. Aken mu Menjai has made a final reply, it is not good for us to make a decision on our own. Watching Chen Ben and Miura fighting with a knife in their smiles, the pure-hearted Aken mu Menjai and the two were completely suppressed. And the intuitive yellow-haired glasses man could feel that after Chen Ben appeared in front of him, several eyes around him began to gather here. It seems that the animation company where producer Miura is located is not at the same level as Dehi Society. Well, can I ask, Mr. Chen Ben, what exactly is your so-called plan? As usual, the one in charge of the negotiation was still the man with yellow hair and glasses, but he was able to represent the will of Yachen mu Menjai. Good friends can communicate only through eye contact. This is the tacit understanding established through years of cooperation, and it is also a manifestation of absolute trust in each other. Did he get straight to the point right away? As Mr. Takahashi Makoto said, Takagi Akito in Yumha Ashiro has a keen sense of observation. Although I was just planning to use Yumha Ashiro to complete the plan, now it seems to make the plan more interesting. After all, Yumha Ashiro's manga reversi is also a very valuable work. Haha. As far as I know. The thought of changing the plan flashed by. Chen Ben pushed his glasses, and a more friendly smile appeared on his face. Teacher Yachen mu Menjai and teacher Feng Guangai Yuan Kuma, in addition to being friends for many years, are they also competitors in comics? Friends. After hearing Chen Ben's words, Yachen mu Menjai looked at each other strangely, and the corners of their mouths twitched at the same time, and nodded reluctantly, although I always feel that Ah Chen has always treated us like toys, but whether it is friends or competitors, our relationship should be like this. In this case, then. Chen Ben's smile on his face became more intense, and he slowly threw out the killer to the two. Is Yachen mu Menjai interested in fighting with teacher Feng Guangai Yuan Kuma in animation? Ahem, the next plot changes will be changed according to the power of a certain cat's author. Ha 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 ha. A middle school cartoonist. Author, Mao Do Sde Mao. Chapter 307. At the Manga Awards banquet, Yashiro Mumenjai did not immediately agree to Chen Ben's suggestion to hand over the animation of the manga reversi to Dehesha. Although a certain blue-headed man showed an eager expectation like a small animal craving for food, before he was about to agree, the yellow-haired glasses man took the lead and started the delaying skill. He did not immediately agree to Chen Ben's suggestion, but temporarily delayed for a while with the excuse that we need to think about it seriously, which even children cannot deceive. Chen Ben looked at the two people who were somewhat moved, and the smile on his face became more intense. He did not ask Yashiro Mumenjai to give an answer on the spot, but chose to exchange contact information and walk towards Takahashi Makoto with a smile on his face. After the Manga Awards banquet, it returned to a peaceful daily life. On Yashiro Mumenjai's side, after receiving Chen Ben's invitation, the good friends entered a period of entanglement. Although when the assistant was there, the good friends did not even need to exchange eyes, they could understand each other and perform the combined combat skills - become a cartoonist who acts as if nothing happened. However, this performance is just a disguise of the two pretending to be strong. Just like when the two were waiting for the ranking of the comics, they would usually choose to call the editor Hattori when the assistant was not present, although they used the excuse of no matter whether the result is good or bad, they don't want to disappoint the assistant because of their performance as a self-suggestion. The real situation is, this pair of good friends just want to maintain the dignity of the so-called cartoonist in front of the assistant. Just like today, after the assistant left, Yachen Mumenjai put down all the disguises while waiting for the editor Hattori to come, and prepared to have a frank heart-to-heart communication, As for whether there will be a fist-to-fist battle between Unit -01 and Unit -00, it depends on the communication process between the two. Hey, Akito, before Mr. Hattori comes, I think we need to talk about the animation. After finishing the drawings, Landai suddenly sat opposite the yellow-haired glasses man, tapping the comics on the table with his fingers, but his face showed a regretful look. Why didn't you agree to Mr. Chenben's proposal to hand over the animation of Reversi to the Oga Society? Supreme, even if you don't ask, I want to explain this to you. The yellow-haired glasses man, who had expected it, breathed a sigh of relief, pushed his glasses, and pinched his chin with his hand. A solemn look appeared between his eyebrows. After a long pause, he slowly opened his mouth to explain to Landai, I just said I would consider it at the time, but it didn't mean I didn't agree. Because I always feel that Mr. Chenben of the Oga Society seems to have concealed some important news, which makes me feel uneasy. But Akito, that's the Oga Society. Landai was obviously a little excited. It was just a simple exchange, but at this moment, the voice was almost roaring. Let's not talk about the purpose of the old animation company, Taigasa. Akito, you also know that making comics into animations has always been our dream. And this is also a decision about your and Azumiho's lifelong event, right? The yellow-haired glasses man naturally understood the reason for Landai's excitement. He showed a malicious smile on his face. After teasing his best friend, he restrained his smile and looked at his partner, who was in a shy state with a serious face, and said his concerns in his heart, but precisely because of this, we can't be anxious, at least wait until Mr. Hattori comes and discuss it with him. After all, Mr. Hattori is our editor-in-chief, and he is more familiar with animation companies. He definitely has more information than us. And Taigasa? Is there any problem with Taigasa? Landai was very confused about his best friend's repeated emphasis on the weirdness of Taigasa. Kazi, you said before that Taigasa is a very famous animation company, right? Seeing Landai nod his head in approval, the yellow-haired glasses man's face became solemn. Then let me ask you, do you think that the comic Reversi we are serializing now is better than Nezuma Eiji's Zombie Gun? This is not easy to say. After hesitating for a moment, Landai gave an answer that made him feel discouraged. However, the so-called lack of confidence is only a matter of a moment. When he thought about the animation of the comic, Landai's face showed a firm look, but I believe that our comic will definitely beat Nezuma's in the future. I have the same confidence. Infected by his good friend, the yellow-haired glasses man also showed a confident look on his face, but when he thought about the discussion before about the animation of the comic, this confidence immediately dissipated. So, Taigasa's problem is here. Although his painting skills are improving day by day, Landai seems to have spent a lot of learning ability, so he didn't react immediately. Two comparable comics. Why did Teihi Club choose us instead of Shinzuma Eiji? Mr. Huang Mao Glasses pointed out the key issues and talked about it to his good friends, who were both enlightened and confused. He said, compared to Eiji Arizuma, the manga artist named Ajoki Yumha is far behind in terms of popularity and influence. I had called Arizuma-kun specifically before and knew that he also had the intention to publish the manga animation, and also received many invitations from animation producers, but Taigasa is not among them. So, according to the equivalent exchange theory that Chen often talks about, if you want to get something, you have to pay something. Ignoring the look of contempt on his good friend's face, the man with yellow hair and glasses said to himself. He said, I didn't agree to Daihi Club immediately because I wanted to spend some time collecting information, so if I want to agree to the animation of Daihi Club, I must at least solve the doubts in my heart. The highest, what's the matter with that look of disgust in your eyes? Although I can understand your thoughts, Chi-Ren. Landai put his hands on his good friend's shoulders, but turned his head away unnaturally. Although cartoonists cannot do without comics, if they become, like Shuji Makoto, if you use the rules of the two-dimensional world to understand the three-dimensional world, it would be a really sad thing, so read less comics. Humph. Is this the mortal wisdom that Cheng often talks about? Pushing up his glasses, the man with yellow-haired glasses sneered, Supreme, you must have sent a text message to my Hoyado last night to tell her that our comic will be coming soon. Is there news about the animation? Say, so what, how about it? Landai, who had just mocked his good friend, was instantly mocked back by his good friend in the form of 10 times Kyo Fist. Just when the two were engaged in a gay bickering, there was a knock on the door. The person who came was Hattori, the editor of Ajuma Menha. And what surprised these good friends the most was that the one who came in with editor Hattori was the four-eyed fox that the two had had a heated discussion with before, Chenben from Tehi Club. Teacher Ayoma Menjai, please forgive me for visiting. In addition to discussing the animation of the comic Reversi, Chenben pushed up his glasses, turning his head around and showing off his absolute aura, facing the astonished two people. Smiling slightly, this time I mainly come here to explain to the two teachers the real reason why Dehi Society chose to produce the Reversi animation. As expected, the guys called Four-Eyed Foxes are masters of scheming and manipulating people's hearts, Kauya. After the Comic Awards banquet, calm daily life resumed. On the side of the Little Sea Otter, a scene appeared that left Yoshida helpless. The Little Sea Otter possesses the severe M attribute of anti-humanity. The more he goes through sad and tangled things, the higher the quality of the comic manuscript will be. On the other hand, if the Little Sea Otter himself is trapped in a happy life, then the quality of the comic manuscript will be greatly reduced. As for the Little Sea Otter who successfully proposed to Miss Kang Shuhong, from the fact that the ranking of the comics has dropped to the edge of being cut in half, it shows that the Little Sea Otter has been very, very happy recently. Although Yoshida was very angry about this, the Little Sea Otter, who was about to change his job to a wife controller, didn't care about these problems at all. If it weren't for Yoshida's trump card of once the manga is cut in half, I will prevent you from marrying Aoki Kurane, Little Sea Otter might have given up on comics long ago. Takahashi Makoto only made Little Sea Otter a fanatic believer, and if you are not a family, you must have already understood the unruly nature of the Little Sea Otter. After the Comic Awards banquet, calm daily life resumed. On Takahashi Makoto's side, the situation seems a bit strange. At least Yoshida feels that compared to the Little Sea Otter that can still be controlled, Takahashi Makoto's side is completely unsolvable. Although Yoshida saw Makoto Takahashi talking to a mysterious person on the phone with a mysterious face several times during the process of receiving manga manuscripts, but since Takahashi Makoto submitted the manuscript on time, Yoshida could not ask too many questions. Not to mention, Yoshida has always firmly believed that the person on the other side of the call actually does not exist, right? Similar things have happened before. Yoshida was very curious about who the other party was. He once took advantage of Makoto Takahashi's good mood and carefully raised his doubts. What he got was basically something like the Phoenix Academy is really fierce, weird answers like another personality or some pharaoh who leaned over me and forgot his name. Is this the result again? Sure enough, the world of Shuyunibu is an existence that we normal humans cannot understand, Yoshida complained as he slowly walked towards the Little Sea Otter's house. Compared with Makoto Takahashi, who is in a strange situation but delivers the manuscript on time, the Little Sea Otter who has recently been slacking off due to love should definitely be the one who receives the most care. However, Yoshida, who left Takahashi Makoto's house with the manga manuscript, did not notice the figure of Takahashi Makoto standing by the window and peeping. I am sure that my familiar cat has left, huh? With the wisdom of my familiar cat, it is basically impossible to use the returning gun to detect, so next. Takahashi Makoto, he laughed sinisterly and issued a frightening invitation to the person on the other side of the phone. Now, how about continuing to maintain this secret contact, join forces with me to kill other competitors, and create a new world together, Black Flame King. Yoshida miscalculated. Because the person Takahashi Makoto called this time was not some non-existent person, but Eiji Nazuma, who is currently fighting fiercely with Yumhajo on Shonen Jump. Damn. I came back so late from overtime today, but fortunately I was able to finish the update. Everyone, go to bed early, good night. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist Mao. Chapter 308. As the representative of Daihi Club, Chenben's communication skills have naturally reached the peak of master level, so it is not very difficult to convince Ijumo Menha and editor Hattori. What's more, as early as at the Comic Awards banquet, Chenben had already thought out all the actions before he sent the invitation to Aiken Mumenjai. Although some things happened in the middle, Chenben changed the details of his plan, but the general direction not much has changed, everything is still under Chenben's control. Although he was in Yachen Mumenjai's studio, Chenben showed the top skills of a negotiator, successfully suppressed Yachen Mumenjai, and held the responsibility of having the title of strategist on the editorial side. Edit Hattori. Yachen Mumenjai's behavior was a little unnatural. Facing Chenben, who was talking so eloquently, there was always a feeling of embarrassment. That's right, these good friends felt extremely embarrassed now. After all, the two of them were talking about what happened to Chenben before, but soon the person being discussed sat directly in front of him, with that kind of see-through smile on his face. Ahem, seeing through everything, Yachen Mumenjai is worrying too much about this. After all, Chenben is just a four-eyed fox, and what he wears on his face is not some kind of taigo, but just simple glasses, and the pupils behind the glasses have not turned into stars. After all, he wants to master something similar to red mind skills. This kind of skill must be performed by people with special talents, such as a certain blonde queen whose age is unknown, but whose breast volume exceeds that of a normal junior high school student. So, Aiken Mumenjai's unrealistic delusions are probably caused by a guilty conscience, right? I'm sorry, teacher Aiken Mumenjai. When Chenben first started, he did not directly talk about the reasons for choosing Reversi, but sincerely apologized to his good friend. Actually, at the beginning at that time, Taihesha did not make a plan to animate Reversi. Of course, this does not mean that Mr. Ajoki Menjai's work is not good enough. It is just Taihesha's internal reason. Eh? Is that so? I could hear that Landai's voice was slightly nervous and uneasy. Well, Mr. Chenben, then why did you think of making our Reversi an animation? At this time, Mr. Huang Mao Glasses is more reliable. After all, he has been animating Reversi from the beginning to the end. I am very vigilant and suspicious. After consulting with his eyes and obtaining the consent of his good gay friend, the man with yellow hair and glasses asked the biggest doubt in his heart. Although Gao Gao and I are a little reluctant, we have to admit that now our Reversi and new wife Eiji's zombie gun is still a little bit behind, although I believe that our comic Reversi will definitely surpass Eiji Arizuma's zombie gun in the future. But Mr. Chenben, what I want to ask is, why did you choose your Reversi instead of Zombie Gun by Eiji Niizuma? Chenben, with a smile on his face, said the same words as the yellow-haired glasses guy almost at the same time. Seeing Huang Mao and Lanlin in a daze, Chenben still kept a smile on his face, pushed up his glasses and explained to the two of them, actually, even if teacher Takagi doesn't ask, I will tell you. After all, I have said it before, the main reason for coming here today is to clear up the doubts of Mr. Ajumo Menha. The reason why Taigasa chose Reversi instead of Zombie Gun, and, as mentioned before, about the best stage for a showdown with manga artist Hohoin Yoshima. Speaking of this, the editor Hattori, who had been silent all this time, suddenly looked a little strange and intervened in the conversation forcefully. I remember I heard Yoshida-kun say before that it was Makoto Takahashi's original manga and it seems that the animation has been confirmed. Could it be that the choice of Reversi by Ajumo Menha has something to do with it? Haha. A Cheng's original comic DN? Ha 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 ha. Hearing what editor Hattori said, the two good friends Aiken Mumenha looked at each other, smiled understandingly, and remembered a certain past event from that year. Back then, when a certain Huang Mao held a notebook that recorded the embarrassing content of a certain Lan Dai and invited him to form a team to become a cartoonist, he was so frightened that Lan Dai's classmate turned pale. A certain Huang Mao replied, "This is just a math notebook. It's not DN's complaint." Eh? Wait, are Reversi and Cheng's DN, although there was still a silly smile on his face, a certain Huang Mao who reacted very quickly after hearing the information given by Hattori's editor, there is a vague suspicion. Staring blankly at Chen Ben, whose smile remained unchanged, a certain Huang Mao asked with some uncertainty, "Mr. Chen Ben, do you want to?" Oh, 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 are today's cartoonists all so thoughtful? Chen Ben slowly took a sip of tea, and the look on his face was naturally the most hateful smile of a four-eyed fox. Yachin, the content of these two comics, Reversi by Kamoha and DN by Hohoin Koshin, actually have a lot of similarities. Moreover, one is the hottest new serial at the moment, and the other is by the well-known cartoonist Hohoin Koshin. It is a debut work, so the two comics being animated at the same time will definitely be compared by the audience. Based on this selling point alone, the ratings can be guaranteed. Of course, don't look at a certain four-eyed, not yellow-haired wife control, smiling like a proud fox, but Chen Ben will never tell the three people present that having two cartoons animated against each other is an experience. After something happened, I deliberately changed my plan. When Chen Ben saw DN, he was very impressed by the cartoonist Feng Guanjin Jishin who was able to draw this comic. Especially when he learned that the cartoonist who serialized this comic at the time was just a junior high school student, it was hard for Chen Ben to believe that a junior high school student could actually draw such a deep comic. After that, Chen Ben paid a visit in person. On the one hand, he wanted to see how much of a monster this young cartoonist was. On the other hand, Chen Ben, who had just entered Dehi Club, wanted to go up. If you want to climb, you have to make some achievements. Obtaining the animation copyright of DN is naturally the best choice. Although Chen Ben was very confident that with his own abilities, he could one day become a giant in Dehi Club, but Chen Ben, who was still young at the time, naturally had the unique hard work and enterprising spirit of young people. However, Chen Ben suffered a humiliating defeat in life. The cartoonist named Phoenix Institute's fierce cartoonist is actually a Chuyunibu patient. When we first met, Takahashi Makoto, who did not act according to common sense at all and did not communicate according to normal human modes, made him think that he was completely prepared. Chen Ben was completely stuck in an unconvincing impasse, which also resulted in the animation copyright of DN being firmly held in the hands of a certain controller in a white coat. This comic called DN is not only the debut work of the cartoonist Phoenix Academy, but also involves the first failure of Chen Ben's career, so, if you want to make DN an animation, it has become one of the few obsessions in Chen Ben's life. When he finally got the animation copyright of DN and made it after a lot of time and effort, Chen Ben didn't have time to be happy. When he was dubbing the animation, he noticed a fatal problem. The voice actors who came to participate in dubbing, most of them are newbies of the younger generation, and are not very familiar with DN. After all, DN was already a work many years ago. I really don't know what Mr. Chen Ben thinks. This comic called DN was serialized and completed many years ago, right? Why are you always struggling to make this comic an animation? I don't know either, but to be honest, this DN is a classic. The popular comic currently serialized in Shonen Jump is Reversi by Ajumu Menha. Have you read it? Is it true? Many readers said that it was Aiken Mumenjai paying tribute to DN. I've seen it. Yagamayu, who has a notebook that can determine life and death, and a black and white demon that can control human thoughts, well, listening to what you said, I really feel that in terms of character settings, the two comics are really similar. It's a bit similar. Humph. So, Mr. Chenben probably thought of animating DN because he saw the popularity of Reversi. Just when Chenben was struggling with how to promote DN, he overheard a conversation among his colleagues, which made him think of a plan, which was to use the now popular Reversi to reversely promote DN animation. However, when Chenben saw the ratings of the air animation, he recalled someone's arrogant appearance, and once again made Chenben accept the fluctuation of brain-piercing light similar to that of a certain deaf elementary school student. A plan for a future duel? Makoto Takahashi, let me borrow your plan this time. Although it is an incomprehensible Chuyunibu, sometimes, this kind of very common sense idea, maybe there will be more interesting effects. After reading the comic Reversi by Aiken Mumenjai, the solemn look on Chenben's face turned into a smile that said everything was under control. So at the Comic Awards banquet, Chenben first sent out an invitation to Aiken Mumenjai to animate the comic. By the way, according to Chenben's style of doing things, he must have investigated the matter of Aiken Mumenjai, and combined with a previous commission from Makoto Takahashi, Chenben, who has mastered many situations, has formulated the best plan on how to conquer, how to win the animation copyright of Reversi. The situation is basically like this. I wonder if Mr. Yachin Mumenjai has any questions. According to the convention of negotiation, the trump card must be played at the last moment. However, looking at the two people who are now interested, Chenben feels that the trump card prepared in advance seems to be no longer needed. With that hypocritical smile on his face, Chenben continued to increase the bargaining chips to persuade Yachin Mumenjai. I remember that I asked Mr. Yachin Mumenjai about his relationship with the cartoonist Feng Guangai Yuanzianma at the banquet before. The existence of a reading partner and a writing rival, being young is still a good thing. Deliberately mentioning some things that people care about, so that the other party is completely trapped in the rhythm controlled by himself. Chenben's style of doing things is indeed a four-eyed fox. Well, Mr. Chenben, about this matter, Looking at his good friend who was caught in some fantasy, the yellow-haired man with glasses scratched his head awkwardly, and a silly smile appeared on his face. We need to discuss the details carefully, so if possible. Oh? Is that so? Then, I'll visit you tomorrow, Mr. Ashiro Mumenjai. Although Chenben was very confident that he could get this comic by Ashiro Mumenjai, he still used his trump card before leaving to be on the safe side. I forgot to say it just now. Since the work of Mr. Ashiro Mumenjai is being animated this time, according to the practice of Daihesho when making animations, they usually choose to let the cartoonist select and recommend voice actors. So in terms of voice actors, does Mr. Ashiro Mumenjai have any requirements or recommendations? Recommended voice actors. Landai looked at Chenben with surprise and exclaimed in a somewhat inappropriate manner. Is it really possible? When it comes to the degree of understanding of comics, the first one is of course the cartoonist himself. So when Ogasa makes animations, it usually considers the opinions of cartoonists. So, if it meets the requirements, of course it's possible. Seeing Landai's surprised expression, Chenben's smile became even brighter. Now he is absolutely sure to complete his plan. He bowed slightly to the three people in the room, and said goodbye to everyone with a smile. Then, I hope to hear good news from Mr. Yachin Mumenjai when I come tomorrow. Goodbye. Chenben walked out of the door and heard a young couple in the room cheering loudly, but Chenben subconsciously frowned. Although he is now fully confident that he has won the animation copyright of Reversi, he suddenly felt a little uneasy in his heart. Maybe, I'm overthinking it. Shaking his head in self-mockery, Chenben looked at his watch. Time, well, I'd better go and discuss it with Takahashi Makoto. I wonder what kind of expression that Chuyunibu will show after hearing my plan? I'm really looking forward to it. The weather has turned cold recently, and I feel a little unwell. Dear readers, please take care of your health. BTW, this computer is probably not working. There are all kinds of problems, I just fixed it, sorry I'm a little late today. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 309. Generally speaking, when Makoto Takahashi was drawing comics or discussing comics with Yoshida and others, Rina would take the two little ones out to play, to prevent someone from instilling in their children, especially their daughter, such unscrupulous and lost worldviews as Rin will marry daddy when she grows up. Of course, for the doubts of assistants or Yoshida and others, Makoto Takahashi would naturally give an explanation like Rin should stay away from weird uncles since she was a child. So whether it was Yoshida or other visitors with ulterior motives, when they came to Makoto Takahashi's house, they usually couldn't see Rina and Makoto Takahashi's two children. The so-called person with ulterior motives naturally refers to a four-eyed fox who suddenly visited today. This breath is, tisk. My followers, let's stop here for today. But it is natural to contribute your end power to conquer the world for the Demon King, so I will not say boring words like thank you for your hard work, everyone. Takahashi Makoto suddenly stopped painting and hinted to the busy assistants that today's work ends here. Turning his head to look at the wall clock, Takahashi Makoto ordered Sebastian, go prepare the black tea, there will be guests coming soon. I know, young master. The guest that Takahashi Makoto referred to was not a four-eyed fox on the way, but a Minotaur Yoshizan who had already entered the Lolita control plot. Wait, Sebastian. Prepare one more serving of tea today. I feel like I'm being watched by a four-eyed fox. If the divination hint is correct, in addition to the Minotaur Yoshizan, the four-eyed fox will also appear today. Again, divination. The assistants who were about to leave stopped and looked at each other, all looking at Takahashi Makoto in confusion. Although Takahashi Makoto kept emphasizing to the people around him that he had started the prophet profession, which was proficient in divination and could predict 100 years in the future, but let alone the assistants, even Takahashi Makoto's bedmate Rina didn't believe it at all. Mr. Makoto, is Mr. Chanban coming today too? Rina, who had settled the two children, looked at Takahashi Makoto with a puzzled look on her face. I remember that Mr. Chanban didn't seem to mention this at the banquet before. Which, go back to the room and use the crystal ball to perform insight magic, and you will see a four-eyed fox with a sinister smile, wandering on the edge of the barrier for a long time. Humph. I can feel the ghostly feeling brought by that hypocritical smile even if I am thousands of miles away. After Takahashi Makoto finished speaking, he looked at the completely unbelieving eyes of the assistant and Rina, snorted coldly, and unceremoniously performed the group ridicule skill. Humph. You can't understand or master the skill of prophecy, so you think I can't do it either? Such a superficial idea is indeed the mortal wisdom that is not expected. No, from the beginning, we didn't think that anyone in this world could master such a powerful skill, not to mention the assistant. Even Rina looked at Takahashi Makoto with regret. The first person to come to Takahashi Makoto's house was none other than Minotaur Yoshi-san Jingzonghao, who had made an appointment with Takahashi Makoto before. Recently, Jingzonghao Yoshi-san has been coming to Takahashi Makoto's house quite frequently. Although he is not as frequent as the assistants or colleagues at work like Yoshida, compared to a pair of good friends who used to come to eat together, Minotaur Yoshi-san has been online quite frequently recently. Ahaha, it's so lively inside the barrier today, Your Majesty the Great Demon King, are you having a party? How about letting me join in? Handing the child in his arms to Rina, a certain unscrupulous Minotaur Yoshizan said with gratitude. Well, Rina-chan, I'm going to trouble you again this time. Just like before, let Ai-chan and Rin-chan play, don't let that brat CG get close to my Ai-chan. Hey. I got it, you guys chat slowly, I'll take AI-chan to find Rin-chan and the others." Rina didn't say much, just smiled slightly, picked up the little girl called AI-chan, and walked towards the bedroom. As expected of the witch chosen by the great demon king. Jingzonghao Yoshizan, who raised his thumbs, said to Takahashi Makoto with envy, "What a good woman." "Indeed. Witch Rina, but I spent thousands of years looking for her in the 3,000 worlds." When Takahashi Makoto was halfway through his speech, an inexplicable smile appeared on his face, staring at a certain Yoshizan's body Harry. "By the way, Minotaur Jisang, the name AI-chan, has your heart of revenge finally awakened?" "Huh? How is that possible? Didn't I tell the Demon King before?" A trace of sadness flashed in Jingzonghao Jisang's eyes. "Since AI-chan was born into this world, she should naturally enjoy everything that a life should have, just like I said before, no matter what AI-chan's mother did, AI-chan is innocent. Why should an innocent child bear the faults of our generation?" "Tisk tisk tisk, Jisang, have you suddenly changed your job recently and become the leading actor of a morning drama? Although it is very good to be enlightened, but when you enter my barrier in the future, it is best not to have the aura of being a good person. Come in. You must know that minotaurs are contagious, and if this causes me to be attacked by a minotaur one day." Although Takahashi Makoto was complaining about the attributes of a certain Jisang, he just thought about it after he was attacked by a minotaur. A ferocious look immediately appeared on his face. "I will definitely find a quiet place, humph." Licking his wounds like a wounded little creature, do you know why the Tauran Jisang gave such a reply? Someone made the inference that all people who feel the same way would do this based entirely on their own real experience. "No, maybe I will use my body and soul as a sacrifice to summon the Doomsday Judge to destroy the planet, or I will study various zombie potions and launch undead natural disasters, or I will fill the entire world with hermaphrodite particles planet, let the whole world from now on have only hermaphrodites and no men and women." Wrong, is it an illusion? Why do I always feel that when Cheng is talking about those strange things, his eyes seem to be staring at us? Ding Ding, as the leader of the assistant, is a little weak at the moment, trying to others with strange expressions on the side pulled into their own camp, but Ding Ding, even you are so stammering when you speak, do you still expect others to help you? For the whole world, and for all human beings. Jingzonghao Jisang slapped Takahashi Makoto's shoulder seriously. "I hope, no, we pray that the Demon King and the Demon Queen will grow old together and never be separated." "Jisang, you still answered my previous question." Makoto Takahashi squinted his right eye and stared at Jingzonghao. "I wanted to ask you before. Every time I come to the Demon King's castle, love is not allowed. Contact all males except you, no, to be precise, all males. Could it be that you want to implement the Light Genji plan?" "Just, how could something like that happen? Practice has proven that people with a guilty conscience are always prone to stuttering when speaking. When I came to my house for the second time, I saw Sadaharu and AI-chan having fun, but after learning Sadaharu's gender, I almost kicked Sadaharu out." "Who was that person?" Ding Chun, who heard his master's call, bared his teeth and barked at Jingzonghao for a while, then jumped into Takahashi Cheng's arms and let out an aggrieved whine. Sure enough, the dark history of Jingzonghao made Ding Chun's spring was hit like never before. Caressing Ding Chun's dog hair, Takahashi Makoto said to himself, "Ding Chun is not only my cute battle pet, but also the guardian of the barrier, so Jisang, as long as you admit it frankly, if you are a loyal supporter of Guang Genji's plan, then Sadaru will naturally forgive you." They said no. Jingzonghao was about to be made to cry by Takahashi Makoto, and he complained unhappily, "Also, even if Ding Chun is a descendant of the Demon King, his essence is just a dog, not a hand. A dog monster holding a demon sword. Why do I have to apologize to the dog in such a humble manner? Hey! Since it's not Genji's plan, then..." Makoto Takahashi grabbed Sadaharu's dog's head, looking like a villain in a TV series, so you are planning to enter a high-level plot between a certain 6 heroes and a certain unrepentant? Tisk tisk tisk, after raising Ijeong, tell her everything about that year, and then use the ridiculous plot of being terminally ill to make Ijeong have complicated feelings for you, and finally. That's enough. Stop talking, it should have been a roar, but when it came out of Jingzonghao Jisang's mouth, it was so weak, it can be seen that Takahashi Makoto's power of talking is getting more and more powerful. Looking away from the surrounding assistants who were completely in watching mode, Jingzonghao sighed and told Takahashi Makoto his purpose of coming. Actually, Lord Demon King, I'm here today. Do you want me to be a witness of your love? Ai-chan is not even a Lolitan now, and you actually want to attack her. Hey, Jisang, even though I have experienced 2 worlds, this is really the first time I have seen her. A shameless person like you who has lost his moral integrity. On this point, Takahashi Makoto, a daughter-in-law, are you qualified to criticize others? So don't show such a disgusted look, okay? Jingzonghao opened his mouth again to say something, but was thankfully interrupted again. Oh, I originally estimated the time. At this point, I wanted to talk to Mr. Takahashi Makoto alone, but I didn't expect. Chen Ben, who was brought into the barrier by Sabas-chan, still maintained his previous attitude. The momentum gathered at Mumenjai in Aiken wanted to stage another gorgeous performance at Takahashi Makoto's house, which was mainly anti-customer. Mr. Takahashi Makoto's house seems to be quite lively. Humph. You stupid people who belong to me, have you seen it? Ignoring Chen Ben et al., Takahashi Makoto looked at the people beside his assistant with a proud look on his face, and conveyed to everyone with his eyes, kneel down and lick me obediently. With a strong desire, he began to mock without mercy. From today on, do you still dare to question my prophet's professional talent? Ahem, Chen, today's work has been completed anyway. Since you have something to talk about, we'll leave first. Although Ding Ding said this, he was using gestures behind his back to make famous gestures to his assistants. The idea pricks the hand, the wind tightens and wheezes, and then decisively and quickly evacuated without getting a reply from Takahashi Makoto. Hey! As expected, Four-Eyed Fox, when you come, what's going on today? Four-Eyed Fox, you have an expression of I have an ominous premonition on your face, but it's quite rare. It's because you discovered that aliens are going to. Did you invade the Earth? Or did you discover a Sian spaceship? Question, when did Makoto Takahashi change his job to become the poisonous Chuyunibu? Haha. Chen Ben said that the anti-customer oriented skill failed to activate, so at this time, he can only smile. Although there is now the existence of a certain Torin Jisang, Chen Ben didn't care, and still stated his purpose of coming. Before visiting Mr. Takahashi Makoto, I first visited Mr. Aiken Mumenjai and asked them proposed. At this time, you want to animate Aiken Mumenha's manga? Haha, Four-Eyed Fox, you are so unlucky. After hearing Chen Ben's plan, Takahashi Makoto's face showed a look that made the two uncles with an inexplicable smile. I'm going to tell you why the stars are so bright today. It turns out to be Four-Eyed Fox, your Death Star that is shining brightly. Why don't you say goodbye? It's still daytime. Chen Ben pushed up his glasses, with a solemn look on his face, and looked at Makoto Takahashi seriously. Sure enough. It seems that I came to the right place today. Takahashi Mr. Chen, you seem to know something. Of course, after all, the fierce demon king of the Phoenix Academy knows everything. But Makoto Takahashi looked at Chen Ben, who had recovered his smile, and said angrily, why should I tell you? Let's not talk about the good relationship between us first. Regarding the issue of sensitivity and camp, I always feel quite happy to see you looking depressed, Four-Eyed Fox. And what happens in the future will cause all kinds of chaos in your long-planned plan. I'm really looking forward to it just thinking about it. It seems that Mr. Takahashi Makoto, you really know something about the situation. Taking a sip of the black tea on the table, Chenben raised his eyebrows with a look of surprise on his face. This black tea tastes good, Takahashi. Mr. Chen, Master Ji-Zhen of the Phoenix Academy, are you really not willing to tell me? On the way here, I had already roughly thought that something very troublesome would happen, but that was just a guess after all. I came here just to find you. Verify it. Sabas Chan's black tea is said to be able to cure nagging disease and stalking disease after drinking it. It seems to be a cure for stubbornness and shamelessness. What a pity, it would be a pity if there are also those who have evolved from reptiles to mammals. The effect will be even better. Makoto Takahashi curled his lips and issued an expulsion order to Chenben unceremoniously. Four-eyed fox, after the incident happens, let me take a break from your anxious and busy state. Enjoy the joy that gives your soul. So, you know. Hey, I'm taking my leave. Chenben naturally knows how to advance and retreat, and smiled slightly at Makoto Takahashi. Heroes always appear at critical moments, so when that time comes, I hope Mr. Makoto Takahashi will show up in time. Hey, four-eyed fox, make no mistake. A hero or something, I am the arrogant Demon King, and the Phoenix Academy is so ferocious. Ahem, sorry, I've been busy playing the hospital dungeon recently, so I'll update, from far away. All adults, please pay attention to your health. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist. Mao. Chapter 310. Although Chenben was unable to obtain any valuable information from Takahashi Makoto, it does not mean that Chenben did not speculate what would happen. However, Chenben did not care too much about this issue, but always believed that after the comics were animated, as long as the animation production quality was good and the voice actors were not too weird, there should be no problems. So according to convention, Chenben announced the list of voice actors of DN and Reversi for publicity, and prepared to release the big news of the confrontation between the new and old animations after the warm-up was completed to further expand the publicity, but a piece of news that started to spread on the internet made Chenben's plan fall apart. It is said that the cartoonist group Aho Mumanjai, in which Meijo Suma, who is responsible for drawing, is currently dating the popular voice actor Azumiho. There is actually nothing wrong with cartoonists dating voice actors. Although they are in different professions, they are also in the same circle. So what is really hard for readers to accept is that in the list of voice actors for the animation Reversi released by Ogasa, the voice actor for the heroine is Miho Ajiki. Is it because they are a husband and wife team that this situation occurs? The man draws comics, and the woman is a voice actor, so the voice actor's partner must be a manga artist. Hee. The manga is starred by his lover. Ashiro Mumuha is such a shameless manga artist. Maybe the bastard named Mashiro among Ashiro Mumuha fell in love with Adu-chan and proposed a deal with hidden rules. It turns out that your circle is really messy. What lovers? In fact, it's just hype. In order to increase the ratings, has Taigasa gone to such a crazy extent? Although there are readers who support Landai and the voice actor's sister, the overall market on the internet is still dominated by negative news. Many emotional readers have made declarations with a self-contained face-slapping aura, such as "I will never read Ashiro Mumuha's comics again" or "I will never watch animations voiced by Adumiho again" without hesitation. In fact, at the beginning, this rumor-like news only appeared on the internet. However, with the promotion of some bad media, the incident gradually escalated, from the romance between Landai and the voice actor's sister to the behavior of the Okawa Society secretly manipulating the voice actors, which has seriously damaged the reputation of the Okawa Society. And Chenben's originally prepared plan was naturally postponed indefinitely. Tisk, is this what Takahashi Makoto is referring to? It's really troublesome. Looking at the collected reports, Chenben's eyebrows were full of solemnity. Although the current situation can be handled by using the influence of the Okawa Society, But if it really does this, it means that Chen Ben's plan, which he had prepared for a long time, will naturally fail completely. What really put Chen Ben under pressure was the two calls from the Okawa Society Board of Directors and Takahashi Makoto one after another. After learning the news, the directors of Taigasa did not stop Chen Ben from stopping the reverse animation, but only proposed to change the voice actor of the heroine, and Takahashi Makoto's call was purely because he thought the matter was not big enough and planned to add fuel to the fire. Four-eyed fox, are you very entangled now? Ahaha. Facing Takahashi Makoto's ridicule, Chen Ben has heard it more than once, and antibodies have been produced a long time ago. Ahem, this time I want to tell you something interesting. If the idiots at the top of Taigasa dare to propose that the voice actor of the heroine of the animation of our good friend be changed, and you, four-eyed fox, do the same, hee hee. I think there are more than just Taigasa animation companies interested in my comic animation. Mr. Takahashi Makoto, don't forget that our cooperation is under a contract. Chen Ben ignored Takahashi Makoto's subsequent threats, pushed his glasses, and tried to suppress it in momentum. If you quit, the liability for breach of contract. Hee hee. If other animation companies knew that in addition to the support of the great demon king Feng Guangai Yuan Kuma, they could also get the support of all the cartoonists such as the King of Black Flame, the Silver-Haired Boy, and the Little Sea Otter, I think many animation companies would be very happy to pay the so-called liquidated damages. I think with your wisdom, Four-Eyed Fox, you should be thinking about how to solve this matter now. Isn't the answer self-evident? After a brief silence, Chen Ben gave a vague reply to Takahashi Makoto, rubbed his forehead hard to try to relieve his fatigue, and after a long sigh, he sent his own application for assistance to Takahashi Makoto. Then Mr. Takahashi Makoto, according to as I said before, do you want to? Although not a guerrilla fighter, the assistance from the special support section has actually been dispatched at this time. Takahashi Makoto did not elaborate on his assistance plan, but laughed jokingly on the other end of the phone. Hey, Four-Eyed Fox, what are your plans for the future? If you can please the great demon king Feng Guangai Yuan Xiongzhen, maybe you can get some support from the high-level combat power of the association, such as Executor, such as Apostle and so on. Hee hee, even if Mr. Takahashi Makoto didn't ask, I would tell you. But Chen Ben finally regained the exclusive smile of the four-eyed fox on his face. Speaking of Executor and Apostle, what exactly are they? Just when the two great conspirators Takahashi Makoto and Chen Ben were planning the famous alliance Total Tactics, Yachin Mumenji's side suffered a lot of blows one after another. The two consecutive episodes of Reversi not only failed to surpass the fateful enemy Ag Shinzuma as a certain Huangmao expected, but due to the influence of Lan Dai and his voice actor's sister, the ranking of the manga continued to decline, and Lan Dai was affected by negative news, entering the inner demon stage. My ability to complete comics and my fighting spirit are significantly declining. The competition in the voice actor industry is very fierce, and the voice actor's sister has become the trump card in this voice actor agency by virtue of her own strength and the brief interview that appeared in a magazine some time ago. Naturally, she is favored by many animation companies. However, after this incident occurred, the CEO's sister was ostracized by her colleagues. People who had a good relationship with her gradually became alienated. People who had a bad relationship with her began to start the cynicism mode intentionally or unintentionally. Just because the head of the firm has always maintained a silent attitude, many jealous people who want to replace him do not dare to be too ostentatious. The situation is basically like this, so according to what I said before, radio talk shows are not impossible, but it is not the time yet. After receiving the help of Makoto Takahashi, Chen Ben decisively chose to become a voice actor's sister. Get it now? Although the specific details were not disclosed, Chen Ben still reminded the head of the firm, there are also emotional issues regarding my Hoadu, I hope you won't interfere too much. But. After all, voice actors can be considered a type of celebrity, so once a popular voice actor announces his relationship, his popularity will easily decline. Therefore, without Chenben's reminder, the head of the firm would definitely suggest that Yadumaiho deny her relationship with Landai in a subsequent interview show. Of course, this is just a personal suggestion. Chenben pushed up his glasses, with a foxy smile on his face. What he said next made the other party's face turn pale. If you insist on doing this, do. I can only tell you that in the future all voice actors in your agency will be boycotted by all the younger generation of cartoonists on Shonen Jump. This is what a certain Demon King asked me to tell you. Seeing the shocked and worried expression on the other party's face, Chenben bowed slightly and left the CEO office with a smile. During this period of time, Chenben has been suppressed by a certain Chuyunibu in various ways. Today, he finally got through as the head of the CEO agency, regained his confidence, and at the same time dispelled the psychological shadow left by someone before. Going to the CEO agency, this is Chenben's plan according to the previous agreement with someone. Visual inspection shows that Chenben has successfully completed it. Hey, mortal skeletal ants, we haven't seen each other for thousands of years, right? When I traveled to another dimension, did you improve your cultivation, on the cartoonist side, except for the troubled Akin Mumanjai? In addition, basically all the cartoonists of the same period as Makoto Takahashi were summoned. Looking at everyone's confused eyes, Takahashi Makoto showed a strange smile on his face. I've summoned you here today not to hold a battle meeting to jointly kill the vampire monster, nor to go to the Wailing Cave to kill the Dark Knight Man. I just want to tell you something. Is it the love affair between Mr. Mashiro and voice actor Miho Miho? The silver-haired boy curled his lips in dissatisfaction and stared at Makoto Takahashi angrily. If it's just to talk about this matter, there's no need to gather all of us together. Right? Especially when everyone is busy finishing the comic manuscript. Teacher Phoenix Institute, do you have any suggestions? Nyizuma Ag squatted on the chair, holding the back of the chair with his hands, shaking it constantly. Although we all support Teacher Mashiro's great love, as outsiders, we can't do anything. We are just cartoonists, and all we can do is draw cartoons, but I still support Mr. Mashiro's love story. Huh? Who would call you ants for such a boring thing? Makoto Takahashi looked at the cartoonists next to him who wanted to express their opinions, with an unhappy look on his face. Although Mr. Landai has his own problems, it did lead to a scene that made me happy, but just to this extent. I hope that the great Demon King of the Phoenix Institute will intervene and provide help. Haha, such a superficial exchange of equal value cannot be established. I just want to tell you. After tapping the table with his fingers constantly, and focusing everyone's attention on himself, Takahashi Makoto showed an expectant smile on his face, took out a stack of manga manuscripts from his white coat, and placed it on the table, furious. Yuji announced, I, Phoenix Academy Fierce, return to the chaotic battlefield of Young Jump with the new series Dream Eater. Hey! Don't be too arrogant, Chang. The silver-haired guy brushed off the comic manuscript on the table, flipped through it, and immediately said angrily, isn't this comic the one you asked us to read before? Wait until it's only been serialized now. How many times has editor Yoshida asked you to revise it? To be honest, Chang, if your new serial is the same level of comics as Clannad serialized in the monthly magazine, maybe, but if this one is food, dreamer, huh. In fact, the more important meaning of this comic is, to complete the first step in educating ignorant readers. Makoto Takahashi smiled unkindly, if you want to know the release date of the new serial, you need to one day earlier than the monthly magazine Jump. Oh, I see. Nizuma Eiji, whose fists and palms intersected, showed a look of sudden realization on his face. After pondering for a moment, he immediately changed to a pleading look, but Mr. Fengguangai Yuan, can you let Fuko-chan go? If. Hey, King of Black Flame, don't violate the taboo of a third person can know. Similarly, you don't want to know, Takahashi Makoto interrupted Nazuma Eiji's unfinished words, turned his head to look at the curious cartoonist, and said the most profound and weird excuse, after all, the gears of fate have begun to turn, and the way of heaven has already arranged the beginning and the end, this is the choice of Steins Gate. Ahem, finally defeated the sick demon, congratulations. Sorry for the past 2 days, everyone.